Currently, 6 out of the world's 10 fastest growing economies are in Africa. And the ease of doing business in Africa has improved to the extent that a good number of countries, such as South Africa, Ghana, Mauritius, and Tunisia, now outperform China, India, Brazil, and Russia in the ease of doing business. Despite these promising trends, significant development challenges persist across the African continent. We are aware COVID-19 has disrupted business in Africa, hence the need to promote international partnerships for driving sustainable business. And this actually is our key priority for these discussions. The implementation of the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement provides the best opportunity for African businesses to thrive. Now, subject to COVID protocols, allowing Africa Trade and Investment Convention, or what we call Invest in Africa 2021, our dates are 11th to 12th June. The conference is designed purposely to discuss investment and trade opportunities in the African continent, countries, facilitate African SMEs and startups to find alternative financing solutions that local banks do not offer in Africa, connect foreign companies with competent authorities and businesses from Africa, and to provide a platform for businesses to expand into new markets. Meanwhile, we cannot wait for COVID to dictate businesses in Africa, and business has to continue. If you're unable to host the physical conference in Amsterdam, we'll have an online conference in June, and we'll make this decision by the end of March and inform you. Today, we are hosting the second Zoom webinar to engage African businesses and international partners. The theme of this event is investment opportunities in Africa, while closely trying to understand Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. The first topic will be handled by our good friend, Benjamin Haas, and the topic is expectations of European investors and economic sectors to invest in Africa. The second topic, and that is very crucial and central to this discussion, is everything about Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement and the opportunities provided by the agreement. It will be handled by Rose Rona, who is a trade expert and working with Kentrade. The third topic is trade financing opportunities. You realize Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement, traders across the border will need financing, and we have an expert, and his name is Gadhu Njoroge from Working Capital Associates. The fourth topic is opportunities for diaspora investing in Africa, and will be handled by Joy Zenz. Joy is the CEO of the African Women in Trade and the African Women in Europe. We'll have a break for questions and answers. And then after that, we will have another topic on the challenges and opportunities for SMEs in Africa. And the topic will be handled by Margaret Mudel, who is the CEO of 1 Million Startups, East Africa. And then we will have investment sector spotlight. We'll be looking at opportunities in agribusiness in Africa. And that will be handled by Dorothy Gidai, who is a private sector partnerships expert from a company called 360 Degrees International. Then we'll have country spotlight in terms of investments. And the first country spotlight will be investment opportunities in Somalia. And the topic will be handled by Mohammed Daril, who is the CEO of Adgisan Consulting Limited. And the final speaker regarding country spotlight will be Philip Lake from Rwanda, handling investment opportunities in Rwanda. And he comes from the Rwanda Development Board. This meeting is moderated by Anne Gaida, who is the CEO of Rigo Africa Group. Finally, in this webinar, we had 550 people who have registered. Most of them are business leaders from Africa, Europe, Asia, North America. We have SMEs, government officials and ambassadors, manufacturers, African in diaspora, investment boards, investors, and other financial service providers, development partners, including NGOs, United Nations, World Bank, and the Africa Development Bank, and other players, retail players, business consultants. The webinar is partly sponsored by Startup Fund, who are looking forward to set up a microloan in Kenya from Germany. I wish to welcome you to this Invest in Africa Symposium, and I'll take this opportunity to invite Ms. Anne Gaitha to moderate the meeting. Thank you very much. Karibuni. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John Karego, for convening this symposium. It is the first of this year, and I'm very excited to be moderating it. As John mentioned, my name is Anne Gaitha. I run a company called Regal Africa, where we help our clients create wealth, especially in Africa, or people interested in Africa. So I want to go ahead and just start off this symposium by just thanking all of the speakers who will be joining us today, because I know they're going to give us very interesting insights about investing in Africa, and also all of you attendees who are coming, and I know that you'll get some information that will help you invest and create wealth. I want to go ahead and just start off with our first speaker. His name is Mr. Benjamin Haas. He is the chairman and investor of the Haas Group, which is based out of Germany, but he's also set up the Startup Fund here in Kenya. And since our topic today is about investing in Africa, I think it is great for us to have Benjamin here, who will tell us more about what are the expectations of European investors who are looking to invest in Africa. And also, Benjamin, I would like you to also share with us what are the economic sectors that you're planning to invest in Africa. We have very many business people who have joined us, and they want to know, how can I get money for my business? And I know you're well placed to share with us. So go ahead, Benjamin. I welcome you to the symposium, and share with us what are your expectations and also what are the economic sectors. Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, John, for hosting this event today. Appreciate having me. About your question, I would love to answer then in two different steps. First of all, I would love to talk a little about my own experience. It's now 3 years ago, I started in investing and working in East Africa. And my expectations were not that high, to be honest. As a European, you have some kind of picture in your mind when you talk about Africa and African business opportunities. And those pictures you have in mind very often drawn by NGOs. I don't want to talk bad about NGOs, not at all. But I just want to say that most of the times, the problem we have in Europe is that we rely too much on the picture which is drawn from NGOs about African opportunities. So I had the, what you could say, the coincidence that I met my business partner, Moses, who is Kenyan, on LinkedIn, just a coincidence. And he actually opened my eyes, to be honest. He showed me the real Africa, and he showed me which kind of opportunities lies in Africa. So what I try to say actually is that as an investor, if you want to go to Africa, and I've been many places in Africa, you really should listen. You should listen to the people. You should go down there. You should take a chance, and you should meet the people on the ground and get some connections, create a network, and really meet the people. Instead of sitting here in Europe and try to do something from here, it will not work for you. You have to go down there, and you have to be on the ground to really create something for yourself. So this is out of my own experience, what I suggest.
All right. Thank you, Benjamin. It was interesting to hear you say there was low expectation, but I also definitely understand that because the story of Africa has always been negative. And I'm happy that people are changing that mindset. And now we're actually having a positive attitude towards Africa because the opportunities are here in Africa. I also like the fact that you actually met your partner on LinkedIn, so it shows the power of technology. And for me, who's based here in Nairobi, we do everything. Everything has been, especially because of COVID last year, there's been digital transformation of businesses. So we will see a lot more connection of Africa and the world through technology. So I'm very happy to hear that. And also that the fact that you emphasize that we need to connect business people, the Europeans or anyone outside of Africa who wants to connect with people in Africa, they have to be on the ground. But could you share with us that not really the expectations, because you've already shared that. Can you tell us what sectors, like I mentioned, the business people here who want to know, what do investors, are they interested in my industry? So could you tell us from a European investor perspective, what sectors are you interested in so that then the African businesses can position themselves for funding?
Yes, of course, I can love to do that. We work in different industries. Personally, I always like to work with industries and startups which I have some kind of knowledge of. But I also know that other investors, they work in other areas than I do. So it's really open. You as an African startup, you don't have to think, okay, is my industry, is my startup good enough for an investment? It's not about that. It's more about how you position your idea and your company at the market. That's really crucial. I think for us, if I can put it like that, for us European investors, the perspective, the international perspective is really important. So if you have a startup, if you have an idea and you're still in the initial phase of your startup, you have to think about what are the next steps. Is it just a local business which I try to create, or do I have an international scale possibility? Because this is what European investors look for. You know, there has to be an international scale. Furthermore, I would like to address the possibility to also look at the global market when you start your business. I have met a lot of great startups and ideas which are already on the market in Europe, in Asia, or in the US. And those startups, those African startups, they had no clue about the companies who are already on the market in Europe, in Asia, or in the US. And so what I like to say is that if you are an entrepreneur, if you have an idea, if you want to go and find investors, the first thing you have to do is you have to look at the market, what's there already. You don't have to build something new if it's already there, you know. You can take the opportunity to maybe cooperate in some way, try to create a network in Europe and talk to those people who have already done what you are trying to do, because that will make it more attractive for investors to come in because they already know the idea, you know. So maybe I can just one example, if you have time for that. Just
go ahead.
I just got muted. One example is that I have been to a convention from Uber in Kenya, and there I met a startup which is working with car sharing. And the first question I asked them if they know I asked them, car sharing, what are you guys doing? Okay, we want to do a car sharing a startup. And I asked them about companies which are well known in Europe and in Asia, and they haven't heard about them, not at all. And I was like, okay, guys, listen, this is the first homework you do. You know, you go at Google or what you use, you take your smartphone and you try to look at the market, what's there already, you know. So this is something I really think it's crucial, and it's really important for African startups to look at the global market and to have an international perspective.
Okay. thank you, Benjamin, for highlighting that market research is very important. Like you said, if you're going to be competing with the world, then you need to know what's going on in the world. You mentioned about scalability. So again, the business people here, you want to set up a business that is scalable. That is when investors will come in. Investors like Mr. Haas with his Haas Group. Also, you mentioned about international trade, which is good, and also intra-Africa trade, and being very, very innovative. So thank you, Benjamin, and I'll be talking to you later on so that you can tell us more about your fund and what exactly that you're doing with that. So I want to go ahead and just talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. You know, it became operational in January of this year, which was last month. And a lot of us are very excited, and a lot of people are not quite aware exactly what the opportunities are. And that's what this symposium is. Now, as John had mentioned, that we do have Rose Rono, who will be talking about the AFTA, all right? But unfortunately, she's running a bit late. So what I would like us to do is then now get to speak to Mr. Gaduo of Working Capital Associates. All of us know very well that when you're talking about trade, it's about access to markets, it's about access to finance. Now, we already know that there's a market, right? In Africa, there's a market of 1.2 billion people. So the market is there. We just need to understand what exactly does the market want. But in the case of finance, that always is a challenge. But as a banker and an investment expert, I tell people money is there. Money is there. In fact, Mr. Njoroge will be telling us about that. The money is there, but how are you positioning your business? That's always the big question. How are you positioning your business? Are you positioning it so someone can trust that if they give you the money, you'll pay it back? Or if they give you the money, your business will scale up and they'll be able to get a good return on investment. So I'll go ahead and welcome Mr. Gabriel Njoroge. He's a trade finance expert at the Working Capital Associates. And he will be telling us more about the trade finance opportunities that they have. And I would like you, Mr. Njoroge, to just share with us, what are you looking for in African businesses? What do they need to do to access capital, especially in this case when you're talking about import and export trade? Because now we've moved away from local, right?
Oh, yes.
Now we are on intra-Africa trade. You're talking about trade with Europe. You're talking about trade with the rest of the world. So trade finance is a very important aspect when you're looking for finance. So Mr. Njoroge, welcome and share with us more about what you do at the WCA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure to present here today. So Working Capital Associates is a London-based firm that is focused on supporting SMEs around the world to trade. We truly believe that trade is how we can develop Africa. And the only way to develop is to increase productivity. Therefore, we created invoice financing facilities and trade finance facilities that allow SMEs to access credit in very short periods, quickly, scalably, and affordably. This allows SMEs to trade and grow quickly.
All right. So, Mr. Njoroge, I'll just call you Gaduo, right? So when you talk about short-term funding, right, can you share with the audience how much, the kind of funding that you fund? And also when you talk about short-term, what is the time period that you're looking at? Especially because you're talking about SMEs, and you know, SMEs in Africa is a bit different from SMEs in Europe or in the rest of the world. So can you just share with us so that the people, the audience can be very clear about what it is that you guys do in regards to the amounts and in regards to the terms?
Okay, so generally what we try to do is match our financing to the transactions that our SMEs are working on, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter who you, it doesn't matter what size of your invoice. We are always here to support you on every transaction, right? So generally we'd like invoice values above $10,000. So this is anyone who's exporting to a credible buyer somewhere in the world. will come in and finance that invoice and allow you to continue trading while you wait for your buyer to pay you.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. And for some of you who are in Kenya, $10,000 just means $1 million. And you know, all of you around the world, you can convert that. So $10,000, which is not a lot, especially when you're doing international trade. And I like the fact that you mentioned it's transaction focused. Most of our business people, especially in Africa, are so used to going to the bank. And when you go to the bank, it's always focused on your collateral, which actually limits women and limits the youth who do not have this collateral. But in this case, you're actually saying we'll finance you based on the transaction and not the collateral that we will bring. And that's what's different. And so for all you business people, you want to pay attention that there are alternative ways of funding outside the bank. And they're here to serve you. And you need any more information, you can reach out to them or the team at Invest in Africa. And yeah, so thank you about that. And is there any, maybe you can share with us if there's any specific industry you focus on, or are you agnostic, or is it just trade? That's as long as it's a trade transaction.
Yes, thank you. And so we are trade agnostic, or we are industry agnostic. However, we try and avoid, we also have a social element to our funding. Okay. So we try and avoid controversial goods, right? So tobacco, alcohol, that kind of stuff, yeah. But generally, we are industry agnostic.
Okay, thank you for that. And we'll be getting back to you later on so that you can share us more information. But for those people who are interested in finance, then the Working Capital Associates are there to help you fund your business so that you can be able to take advantage of the opportunities in Africa and around the world. And since we're still on funding, I think maybe I'll just rope in Benjamin a little bit here, because earlier you mentioned about your startup fund. And again, like I said, access to finance is a very big issue in Africa because it's quite expensive. A lot of people are not prepared. So Benjamin, could you just share with us, especially because you focus on startups, can you tell us what the startup fund is looking for and how are you supporting entrepreneurs to grow their business, especially operations? So what exactly is the startup fund doing differently than what the banks do, or even different from what WO does with the Working Capital Associates? Could you share with us more about that?
Yes, and of course, it's actually quite easy what we look for. We look for people with fire in their eyes. You know, those who are willing to do everything to succeed. That's of course the first thing we look for. I think you mentioned that the access to funding is not easy in Africa, and of course everyone is aware of that. But I also think that one of the problems African startups have is creating awareness for themselves. So if you wanna engage with an investor and the investor doesn't know you, there will be a lot of questions, and there will be, of course, a lot of asking, are you trustworthy? Is it the right thing? And so on and so on. So what we actually do at the Startup Fund is one of the things we have a focus on is helping creating awareness for young entrepreneurs in Africa. So we use social media platforms, we use our network, we use webinars like these, we use different places to create an awareness for those startups who are actually working with us, because we believe that if possible investors already follow you and already have some kind of knowledge about your work and what you do, it will be much easier to engage with them later if you're looking for funding.
Okay, all right. So people need to put themselves out there, right? Yes. They need to create, I always talk about our creating African brands. If you look at brands around the world, you see brands from Europe, you know, you see brands from the US and Asia, but it's very challenging to find really big African brands, although they continuously increase. So for the go-getters out here who are in business, the people with fire in their eyes, as Mr. Benjamin put in, you want to go ahead and build brands and make sure that you're trustworthy so that these funders can say, you know what, if I give you my money, I know you're good for it. You'll either pay it back or you'll grow a business that will grow in valuation that I could then be able to exit and get a good return on investment. So thank you again, Mr. Benjamin, for sharing that. And I hope that the business people are paying attention. There is money, but there are certain things that you need to do in order for you to prepare for that. All right, I'll go ahead now and bring in Mrs. Joy Zen, an amazing woman who I've had I've had the privilege of knowing for a while now. We met last year, and she is based out of Germany, but originally from Kenya. And what it is about Joy that I like is she's very, very, very optimistic. She is a go-getter. She's visionary. She's probably what Benjamin is talking about, those businesses with fire in their eyes and, you know, ready to go out there. So Joy, as earlier mentioned, she's the founder and the CEO of the African Women in Europe, and recently the African Women in Trade. So she really focuses a lot on women and also the diaspora. So welcome, Joy. And I think my first question for you, Joy, is this. Can you share with us who are attending, can you let us know what are the opportunities, especially for Africans in the diaspora who are looking to invest in Africa? What are the opportunities that you see? You know, you were born and raised here in Africa, you've gone out to the world, looking in from an outside perspective. What is it that you've seen that you think that people need to be paying attention with regards to the opportunities so that they're not left behind? Go ahead and share with us that, Joy.
Yes, I want to share my slide because this is a really important topic. Can you hear me well?
Okay. Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay, yes, and thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a great platform to be, and I'm delighted because now this is the product of actually diaspora as we are speaking about. So if you can give me the chance to, I don't think I have that yet. I have another profile on the as well. I use the second profile to share the link.
Okay, let's go ahead and just have the team, Nick Ron at
Okay, I got it now. I got
you
it
got
now.
it now? Okay.
Good. So yes, it's a very important topic, as I said, and this is a product of exactly that. As you know, diaspora are the bridge. I call them the bridge of the two continents. And I like the way one of you said about we diasporas, and as well, especially the Africa continent, it's our time now to reflect how we can coordinate, come up and be the part of the Africa economic development. And that's why I have this slide here saying why Africa diaspora are the bridge to the Africa economic development. And it's happening as we're speaking now. And that's what, as Anne Ryder said, that I'm one of the ladies who is very passionate. Those who don't know me, my name is Joy Sense, and I'm the founder of African Women in Europe, a network which has over 6,000 women. And our main aim is connect women with the right opportunities. And I'll go through this slide and you'll get to know us more, and from us you can get a little bit idea who we are and how we operate. So as I said, we'll go straight on and give you the objectives of how African Women was formed. The idea was to come together, mobilize, and we had simple aims, and that's the main beauty about diaspora. When we work together, this is a big challenge, and we can say Awe has really managed to put this through. So we are seeing African women really came together over 15 years. We've been doing this, and all these objectives came one by one. And my favorite one, as you can see, is at the bottom, the invest in Africa collectivity. And I will go through this slide, focusing on that knowing the time that I've been given for this. I want to really focus on the main part where the diaspora really come in, but mobilization is one of them. So I'm going to the next to give also about how our projects are oriented in this area. As you can see on the platform there, you can see there is we came up together and decided, you know what, we need to get ourselves organized. So we have our Academy, this is one of the projects. We also have the AWT, which is the one that is the African Women in Trade that came up just within 3 weeks, and I'm giving you more information about that, how it's actually exploding and being the place to be as a diaspora, because this is a place where all African businesses, especially women, and I'll be saying why I focus on women is because that's my area. I really work with 15 years with women. I've seen the best out of them, and actually I believe African women are the pillar that is needed to bring the Africa to the next level of development. And they have been taking big impact to the economic. And I'm really happy the Africa Continental Free Trade is focusing on women and youth, not forgetting the youth as well. So we also have African market as well as one of the products where we showcase the products that are there from Africa coming here in Europe as well, and the other way around as well. And one of my also product that I'm very passionate about that is coming up, because we have decided to be actually the bridge of Africa through opening up a circle, which is a diaspora based in Kenya. Some of you who are in Kenya will know about circles, thanks to the government that have actually given us the opportunity to actually invest in this vehicle. As you all know, the remittance, how we have been sending home, how can we do it in the proper way? So I'll also go throughout with some of the activities that we have been having over the 15 years. We've written a book sharing about our stories, because some of the people on the continent have no idea how it is when you come here in Europe. We are very big cases, and it's not as honey as you think. It's a big hurdle. We share this information in a book, and we are so glad to share with you as well. And also we acknowledge the women. Competition in Europe is very high, but you women are doing very great work out there. So we do acknowledge women, and we have our awards coming up actually in May. So, and the closing has finished, and we'll be publicizing this very soon as well. And I cannot continue talking about all the products and not focus on this particular product here, the African Women in Trade, where we diasporans have to come together and support some of these projects. Our mission for the African Women in Trade is to mobilize and create platform where African women and youth SMEs can connect, network, be informed of the Africa Continental Free Trade area that just started in January, and we'll be informing. We're also having training that we're speaking right now, and as well as funding opportunities, which is an opportunity where we are right now, and being able to do this across Africa, because our aim with African Women in Trade, we are focusing only in Africa with African products, made by African products, following the Ubuntu. So check out on that as well. We have shared the link there as well. You can see that. And the Awe Academy is a vehicle. It's gonna help us to do that. The Awe Academy is where now the diasporas are coming in, sharing their skills and presenting them or on our platform. And as we speak today, like today, we have an investment opportunity, funding, how type of investment. You just had, there's so many types of investment, 15 types of investment. Do you know about them? How do you go about it? We are in diaspora. You can understand this better from us diasporans, telling you how they are and how you can tailor, not to waste your energy in the wrong investment. We even have a video with that, and you can check us on that on our platform. These are very two main focus where I want to focus with you about the diaspora and how we have used the platform to bring out the best of us and be part of the Africa diaspora. And we encourage others to do all this. And what are the strengths of the diaspora? As I mentioned there, it's tremendous. You have the best of both sides. You have the best of Africa, where you came from and you are oriented in, or the culture in it. And you come here and get the Europe area. Like some of us have lived there over 20, 30 years. You have the best model of both. You know where to go best, and you can direct both sides, the African market, the entrepreneur, and the European market, the investors, with the right kind of business. So we are creating this platform. You as a diaspora, you are the one to be, and actually this is your time. And I'll be telling you why this is your time. You also know the weakness, as I said, and the strength of both cultures. You know the communication language, of course, of both sides. You have stayed in this kind of mastered the way of doing things, and you now the one to build the bridge to connect the both continents as well. So this is a few of the others, more and more ideas. And maybe you're asking yourself, okay, this is the time now, how can I get started? How do you get this point? Because I'm an action person really, and some of you who know me, if I say I'm gonna do something, I'm going to do it. Because this is the time for action. It's not saying, oh, maybe, no, we are taking action. So I'll go through this, giving you examples as well from what we have done. You can also mobilize yourself. Find each other with like-minded. What are your wishes? I know you're very busy diaspora right now with your businesses, building the European continent. I think it's the time to go back and build the African continent. Create time and mobilize and volunteer to be in some of these organizations. Like I said, African Women is there for you, but we have so many other organizations, and African Women in Trade is also waiting for you to connect with the opportunities that are there with your people on the ground. We're also building, you have to also building platforms, their website, their organizations. I know right now the continent, we have COVID-19, we are all locked down, but there are all these social enterprises and platforms that are already online. You can already get involved in them. And then share diaspora skills and knowledge through organized institution. You have it here. We are this is one of the platforms we are talking about right now. You can see John is all the way from Holland, and Anne is in Kenya. Look at that combination. This is what you're talking about, how you diaspora can really connect and build the continent with our people on the ground. You don't have to be on the ground, but there is that opportunity of linking the two as well. Remaining, as you know, remittance is a huge thing right now. We diaspora are sending a lot of money back home. How are you doing this? As I said, we have opened Africa Away Diaspora Circle, which is supposed to start now covering Europe, men and women. We are so delighted with this vehicle because it's not only going to be just sending money, you're also going to create wealth within yourself because you're going to get dividends and you're going to support entrepreneurs. Our focus is basically supporting entrepreneurs, and we're looking after you in Kenya because this is only tailored for Kenya, and we have African Women in Trade tailored for all Africa. So this is a platform I'm encouraging you all to take up along with. So I think also we cannot forget one major thing. What can the government down there in Africa support diaspora? We want to come back home. How can this be? How can they help us to do that? As you can see, as I said, we are the people who are bringing a lot of money on the platform in the continent. You cannot ignore this. You need to really focus on the diaspora. Easy up taxes to attract diaspora to invest in Africa. Some of these interest rates are so ridiculous, over 50, 20. That's why we're having investors here giving us interest rate of 2 to 1%. How can you make it attractive for us diasporans to move in that area? We also have, we need a government body in all, or probably in most of all countries in Africa. Right now, we see that in Ghana, we see that in other continents. We need to support this much more because as soon as we organize, actually the most important people, the diaspora, if you manage to organize through the government and targeting right kind of vehicles because you know best and also know how you can attract diaspora and they would trust the government for a body in any direction. That would be the best way to do it. So I don't want to really expand on this so much. I know the government, but I'll say it's about you. You can do the change already from yourself. So as you have heard, there's quite a lot of things to do. You can contact us if you want to know more about us, have a clip of this information. And yes, Anne, it's now or never, and you're already showing the way. Thank you so much for having me here.
Wow, Joy, that was a lot of information. I'm so excited about all the projects that you're doing. I loved what you said, time for action. It's like, you know, this conversation for me is really great because you're speaking what I've been speaking about, me being a diaspora returnee, and actually saying about the strength of the diaspora and how the diaspora is the bridge to Africa. Because again, when you are out there, that's how you're able to meet people from outside the country, like Mr. Haas, who is in Germany, and all these different people, right? So as the diaspora, you're able to not only bring in money, but also bring in networks and also understand how globally trade is done. So I'm very excited about that. I also liked what you said about African women and the program, African Women in Europe, because I'm very big on women. Everyone knows I speak about women. I know there are men in the audience, but I always say support your wives, support your daughters, support your nieces. And you said we have to work together in order for us to make sure that all of us, Africa is rising, the world is rising, because again, the world is looking into Africa to get these great returns. So we all have to work together to do that. And you mentioned that it has to be done collectively. Invest in Africa collectively. You cannot do it alone. So it's all about collaborations. It's all about saying there's enough for us. There's abundance of opportunity. And that's why we have the speakers here who are sharing with us what it is that they know, because it's enough for all of us. And the last thing you talked about, or you talked about many things, but you talked about sharing our stories, the successes, the failures, okay? So again, we'll continue sharing stories about entrepreneurs in Africa who've done great things in Africa and around the world, and also people who have failed, and so that we can also learn about that. So I'm very happy that you've talked about the opportunities in investing in Africa. We share our stories, we take action. It's no longer about talking. And the women and the youth have to be on that table when things are being done. So thank you, Joy, for all of that. And we really appreciate you. The last thing, I know we don't have too much time. Maybe I'll give you like 5 minutes because, like I said, we really need to understand more about the women in trade. I'm part of it. I saw you started a couple of weeks ago. I was very excited with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, gender and trade, and then I see the work that you're doing. So can you just maybe tell us a little bit more? You mentioned that it's a platform. And can you just tell us about the opportunities? How are you planning to share these opportunities to these women? Because one of the things I have learned in my journey in business is a lot of people don't take up opportunities because of lack of information, right? There's lack of information. I earlier mentioned that we have access to market. Africa is open. So, I mean, if it's access to market, it's there. But also we lack financing, which again, we've been talked to by Benjamin and also Mr. Gadou. But in regards to information, what is it that you're doing at the African Women in Trade that the women and the youth of Africa can actually learn so that they don't sit behind, right? They can take action because they know where the opportunities are. So just share with us. I'll give you 5 minutes and then we can go to the next speaker.
Okay. Yes, this is where my heart is, the African women in trade. It's something that I have been following. When I heard about Africa Free Continental Free Trade Area, I started following around 6 months, I think, during COVID time. And I was looking for a vehicle where we can use to support African women in businesses in Africa. And it was the perfect opportunity. And what a timing. So when we put it out there, it's exploded as we speak right now. We have 3,000, we are only 3 weeks old, and we have already set up our plan. And the idea was that we, diaspora, are not going to bring our ideas in the continent. So what we have done, we've given, we have had a form. Everybody filled the form and told us what they want, because it's all about having a design thinking. Design thinking is where you find the problem, you go down to the root, get the problem, find what, and then finding a product that helps in that. So that's what we did, and we came up with a huge data, and I can tell you, I even shared in the group because you already had the meeting. The first thing was they needed to collaborate. They needed to find each other, and I can tell you, as we speak right now, we have found that the women have already started trading. The first week, they started like looking for the opportunity to connect. So the platform has given them in first wish on their list. We have already covered three wishes on the list. So we have already given them the opportunity to network, and we created a platform. We are on Facebook, we are on O2. Don't forgetting that we have to also consider the continent doesn't have enough of strength in battles of internet. So we are using the tools that are easy. Right now, they told us the best method was using the mobile, using emails, and this is what we have done. So we have a website where they put all their products. They tell us what they're doing, and everybody can find themselves on this platform. So it's a booming area. So these areas we covered within the first week and 2 weeks we started, and that's our strength as African women in Europe. This is the platform that we are using. We're also using the skills, as I said, as diaspora. We are sharing our skills with the Africa continent. So I'm using the skills that I used for 15 years to show how we can also do the same thing, connecting the African women in trade. So after that, they also talked about they needed to connect to the investors and financing. So this is the stage we'll be going into. As I said, the 3 years, we need to build relationship and trust. And these are big things in the continent. So we are building relationship, which I've also put our core values are very, very serious. We need to build relationship and trust. And this is what we are doing, getting to know each other, getting to know the business. I'm spending almost every day with meetings. Interesting women who are in manufacturing, mining, some of them have produced cars and their youth. It's amazing when you start listening people on the ground to see what they're doing, and they're all looking for investors. And you believe, where have you been the whole time? We could have connected with the right kind of people. So this is our work right now. to connect them to the right opportunities. And they're also making sure the investors also are connected with the right kind of business that really need to move forward. Apart from that, we're also encouraging export, import. Of course, here in Europe, those people were in that level as well. As I said, the levels are quite different. And we are focusing as well in agriculture, health, finance sector, that's any government opportunity. I speak right now, there's a funding going on in Germany called VIDU project. And this funding is funding small businesses to 2,500 euro. You can exchange that in your country. And it's supporting Kenya, Ghana, Cameroon, and it's a combination diaspora in Africa. So the combination of it, you have to be in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland that was added recently. And I think Togo is also included there, and more countries are coming. Right now, there's a huge support in that area, and it's non-refundable. It's a free grant. I know some people love free grant, but it is a place to get started. And we are giving you trainings after that to make sure that you are able to sustainability, because the whole idea is to sustain. It has to be a business concept. So you can check out that as well on our platform. We have one on Monday next week, giving out information throughout the year, and you can find a partner in that. These are and we're not forgetting the youth. The youth in Africa is the biggest platform. We are not reinventing the wheel, I have to say that. We already have partnering with youth. I think one of them must be here, Oliver, who is doing a great work in South Africa, working with the youth, and we are partnering with them in that area, and also partnering with a partnership is a big thing right now. We have done the work for it, but we need not to reinvent the wheel. So we are reaching out to you if you want to partner with us. Yesterday, we also closed another MOU partnership with being a branch of African women in trade in their concept, because they didn't have women in the concept. We offered that opportunity. We can partner with them, and the person doing that job is also on the platform. We are also working with countries. Each country will have its own committee that's focusing with the issue in each country. So right now, we are forming up the countries. So if you're in a country that we don't have, check on the platform, reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to hear what are you bringing on the African Women in Trade platform to make sure you grow your country in women empowerment. I mean, the list is endless, I'm telling you, Anne. So I'm gonna hand you over, because there's quite a lot that we are planning to do in the future, step by step. And I can tell you, this is our time, and we are doing it as diaspora. So welcome women in trade, women in business, focusing, just exchanging, and let's build the continent. As I say, Ubuntu, I am because we are.
Ubuntu. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Joy. I can hear in your voice just like it's exciting times in Africa. It's exciting times in the world. We've come from a very dark place. Last year was very tricky, but I think as humans, we've been able, and as Africans especially, we know how to manage things, right? And we're coming up, and we're able to see the opportunities through our network, through technology. I do have to say, it's amazing that you could get 3,000 people on a platform in 3 weeks. That is phenomenal.
Our aim is actually 300 of our million. Okay. That's the idea.
Okay, next time I'll talk to you, I'll hold you to that, because if you're looking for half a million women in your platform, I must see how I can help you, because I think more women need to be doing this, more young people need to do this. We're not eliminating the men, but we want to tell the men, support your wives, support your daughters, support your nieces, support women who are looking to do trade, because we are half the population. And in order for you to do great things, you cannot remove us. We are there, and we want to work, and we want to trade, and we want to create wealth for generations to come. I do have to say that I'm very excited when you're talking about the reason the AWT was formed was because of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which tells you that when government does the right thing, in this case, the African Union championed that we needed to have this done, and would have to have a free trade agreement. It's been going on for years, but now it's actually actualized. So now it's out to the governments of the state, the different countries, the 55 countries, to make sure that there's implementation and working with the business people in your country. You also, one of the things that I liked is you talked about Africans have the solutions, but they need the support, right? So we need support as business people. So where is the support? And that's what people are looking for. But I loved this, collaborate and connect. And so I wrote collaborate and connect for success. I don't know if I'm gonna use that, but thank you for reminding us that we need to collaborate and we need to connect so that we can build relationships and trust to make sure that all of us are rising. Now, I can see we have over 60 people with questions. I'm gonna get to you right now. I just want to one more speaker, right? This is the lady who is really supporting startups. And if you know the story of Africa, there are a lot of startups, there are a lot of SMEs. We are over 80% of the businesses. And so we definitely need to hear from someone who is actually championing this. We have Margaret Bell, who's the CEO of the 1 Million Startups. I see her, and I hope she can put her video on. So Margaret Bell is the CEO of the 1 Million Startups in East Africa, and they're doing great things. So what I would like for you, Margaret, if you could just talk to us. Hello?
Hello, I think there's a lot of noise with the people talking. I missed some bit of what you're saying.
Yes, I would say, can you please put yourself on mute? If you're not speaking, please put yourself on mute. If you're not a speaker, if you could put your video off so that we can just make sure that the speakers are being heard, would really, really appreciate that. So if you could just please be on mute. Thank you. All right. So as I was saying, Margaret, thank you for being with us today. I know we want for you to share light around the state of startups. You're the CEO of the 1 Million Startups. It's based out of East Africa, but really, this is the rate all around Africa. We are talking about people who are seeing that entrepreneurship is a way outside employment, right? It's an option, and there are very many young people who are saying, this is something that I want to do, but they are great opportunities, but at the same time, there are very many challenges. So what I'd like for you, Margaret, to do is, can you share with us what you think are the challenges that SMEs in Africa face? And why do you think that SMEs need support, especially so that they can take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement? That is what we're talking about today. I am in Nairobi, I'm in Lagos, I'm in Cape Town, I'm in Dakar, I'm just anywhere in Africa. I'm a startup. I'm run by a young man, a young woman, a male, and I'm hearing that there are opportunities based on this Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. What should I be doing? What are the challenges that I will probably face, but what is it that I need to do to overcome, and what is it that your company is doing? So I want to welcome you, Margaret, if you can just share with us that, and then we'll go ahead and take the questions so that we can clarify some of the questions people have. So welcome, Margaret.
All right.
Let us know what you're doing at your organization. And if you can put your video on, would really, really appreciate that. We like to see people.
Okay, thank you so much, Anne. I think I tried to keep the video on, but then my connection is not really, my Wi-Fi connection is not really so strong. I really apologize, but I can assure you that's my real picture. All right, so thank you so much. It's really exciting to be part of this very interesting discussion, unveiling Africa, talking about Africa and entrepreneurship. Some things are really, really close to my heart. And as you've introduced me, I run the East Africa chapter of a global entrepreneurship community called 1 Million Startups. We are currently in 65 countries, and we support entrepreneurs that are tackling sustainable development goals challenges through entrepreneurship. So on the local chapter, we do run initiatives that support women, that focus on the women and youth. So for the women, we do have a hub for women only called Women Biz 360, where we help women on three key areas. That is finance, technology, and also entrepreneurship leadership. For the youth, we run entrepreneurship programs where we help organizations that have youth or youth that are part of our organization on how to ideate. How do you start a business from being an idea to being a fully fledged business? So basically offering our community the support they need so that they can run sustainable businesses that will make global impact. So to the topic of the day, I really think when we talk of the challenges that we face here in Africa as SMEs, who are the backbone of the economy in Africa, I would like to flip it and look at it differently. Look at those challenges as opportunities for us as SMEs, as people who are very innovative, constantly thinking of how do we get around the challenges and the problems that we face. And I'm sure most of you have heard, if you can run a business, I've heard about this saying, if you can run a business successfully in Africa, you can run your business anywhere in the world, because I don't think there are any other SMEs across the globe that face the very many immense challenges that we face here. So one of the challenges which most of you have touched on is the access to finance. So I'll not dwell much on that. That is practically not just for African SMEs, but also it's a global problem. But one part of the finance that I would like to say is the part of financing that most of the SMEs need is patient debt, patient capital, yeah? Because the market here and the landscape of doing business here is totally different from how it is in Europe and in other parts of the world. So what SMEs really need is patient capital that will enable them to grow their ventures, prove their ideas, and grow their business to scalability. So yeah. The other thing I would say, which is a big challenge, is the infrastructure. Yeah, and this touches on the access to electricity, road networks. Yeah, we know that different entrepreneurs from various sectors face this challenge differently. So for example, those in agribusiness, we find that we have areas in Africa that are food baskets and other areas that are the food deserts. So transporting that food to where it is really needed becomes a huge challenge. So the infrastructure, where we've seen Africa is still a growing continent, where we've seen, especially in Kenya, the infrastructure is being built daily, every other day. And we do hope that in the coming years, we're going to see, a different landscape altogether, where all these challenges of transportation, access to electricity, which aids in manufacturing and all, will be very much accessible to most SMEs. So the other area I would say where we come in strongly as 1 million startups is in the area of capacity building. And this is helping SMEs run successful and sustainable enterprises. When COVID happened, so many businesses were shaken, were affected. Their business models were really tested because they were not really resilient. But right now we've seen the importance of having resilient and adaptable business models that will help that the SMEs can leverage on to ensure that they stay in business, whether there are challenges or not. And this is where we come in with our various capacity building programs for example, the investor readiness that helps SMEs that are looking for capital to increase their competitiveness and attractiveness to investors. There's some feedback. Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, there was, but I think the person has put it on mute. Go ahead, Margaret.
Okay, yeah. Helping them be investor ready and increase their competitiveness and also visibility to investors, because we see some of the investors that we work with, one of the things they talk about is, where are these very good businesses to invest in? We can't see them. And the businesses on the other hand say, where are these particular investors? So we act as that bridge, connecting very good businesses to people like Benjamin, who have the funds to invest in SMEs. Yeah, and last but not least, which is not really much of a challenge, and it touches on the African Free Continental Trade Area, is the access to markets. SMEs are constantly looking for markets where they can sell their goods and their products, not only in their own countries, but across Africa. And with the incoming of the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement, I think this will lower it will lower the borders and help SMEs be able to trade freely regionally and access the 1.2 billion market that is easily available. On the other hand, we do have plenty of opportunities, which is why Africa is called the rising continent. It's the world's next big growth market, where we have a growing population, a fast growing population. And it is estimated that by the year 2040, nearly half of the world's working population will be Africa's youth. So this is a great opportunity even for Africans as we industrialize ourselves, as we try to, bring in most of our operations in-house, because COVID showed us that we had over-relied on manufacturing in China or overseas. But then during COVID, when we needed essential goods, we realized that we had the potential, we had the capacity to industrialize ourselves as Africans, to produce our own goods, to produce our own services, consume our own ingrown products and services. So that, given the rising population, that presents a ready market and also labor to work in the factories, is a huge, huge plus for us as Africans that we cannot forget. Industrializing ourselves and also the fast growing population. Again, the infrastructure and the internet penetration, as much as it's a challenge, it really provides a huge opportunity for investment, for SMEs, especially in fintech, mobile money, leveraging on the digital economy as a growing continent, to see how they can take advantage of these opportunities that are coming along, that are being brought about by the digital economy. Yes.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you for sharing that the opportunities for startup, the work that you're doing. I like the fact that you mentioned Africa is the rising continent, so that's what it is, which is a positive spin from what has been happening previously. So it's great to know that the world and all of us are looking to Africa for great things to come. You also mentioned that all the businesses you support, you want them to be sustainable and have global impact, which is very, very important. You need to move from local to regional to continental to global. So I hope that the business people who are listening, you can actually have a strategy in place for you to scale up. You cannot go, and do big things right away, but you start small, but you have a strategy that eventually you take step by step, and eventually you'll be able to have impact globally. You mentioned that there's so many challenges in Africa, you see them all around, but those are the opportunities. That is where money will be made. That's where the innovation has to happen. We have to overcome these challenges. And if the things have been done outside the continent, they can be done here, but we have to do it the African way. And you mentioned about finance, which is the pet subject for me, being a former banker, and that's what I do with my company. You mentioned that we need patient capital. At the same time, you mentioned that we need debt. That's a bit tricky because most people who give you debt want it right away, right? So again, what I'm hearing you saying, in Africa, we need to find innovative ways of supporting African businesses because they're not the same as global businesses in some aspects. So let me just finish up, Benjamin, and I'll let you come in. I was just going to just mention one thing. I was going to say, when you hear patient capital, we usually think, hey, there's going to be an equity investor who'll come in and then, they'll be paid based on the growth of the business, but not really in debt. But what I'm hearing Margaret saying is some of the African businesses are saying, look, I want debt, but can you work with me? Can I have, especially because we are in agribusiness. A lot of us are in agriculture, and it takes time from production to harvest, from value addition. So people want debt, but patience. So all the investors out there, or anyone who are funders, we need to pay attention to that, or that's what I took out. Can we look at patient capital that is debt? How do we structure that? How does that look like, especially if we are not asking for collateral? And that is where trust comes in, right? Joy mentioned that. It's a very interesting thing. And maybe here we'll have Benjamin jump in and tell me what you think that you're doing at the startup fund. Are you structuring something around patient debt?
Before I answer your question, I would love to give a quick response on what Margaret said, because I couldn't agree with her more. But I would love also address, I think it's a homemade problem. You know, Margaret, she addressed that African businesses, you know, you have a product which is taken away from Africa and produced somewhere else. I think it's a homemade problem, because Africans, they have to step up, you know. You have to be more self-confident. You have to say, listen, I would love to live the African dream from cocoa to chocolate, you know. So we would do the whole thing, don't take away our cocoa and produce the chocolate somewhere else, you know. This is the way of creating sustainable business and creating jobs, is by doing the whole chain in Africa. And I think Africans really have to step up and telling their story, and don't let the white musungus like me tell your story, or some NGOs, you know. You have to step up and do it yourself. This is the way of doing it.
Wow.
This was just my feedback on Margaret.
Challenge
exactly.
taken. Challenge taken. I hope people are listening. Step up. African businesses, step up. Do value addition. From cocoa, we now have African chocolate brands. I was so surprised. I'm in Kenya and I'm very, very interested in tea. And when I Googled the top 100 tea brands, and Kenya is known for tea, none of them were Kenyan, none of them were African. And that to me was a challenge, and I said, I'm working on that. Same with coffee, like where my parents are from, the Mount Kenya region, the best coffee in the world. And yet when you talk about coffee brands, do we know the African brands? We need to move. We need to go into value addition, because that's where the jobs will be created for the young men and women of Africa. So challenge taken.
Can I add on that?
Okay.
It's a very good one there. And actually we have taken action. I told you, action takers. We have actually, with the cocoa now, we are thinking of opening up these branches already in the continent. It's already in our business plan. So this is quite a good point there, put up and raised up by Benjamin. And we're taking action as diaspora to really focus on that. So yeah, we'll be telling you another story when we get here next time.
Okay. So Joy, when you put the business plan, you start investing, start generating revenue. You have the startup fund where you can get money. And later on, when you're importing this cocoa from one place to the other and other ingredients, you have Gadu at Working Capital Associates who will.
We are ready to partner with other investors.
Exactly.
Investors are welcome. As I said, we are open. We are going to be diaspora also as investing vehicles. So we are already going into that as investors, as I told you, Awe Sako, and we can take other investors in Europe to make it even faster, definitely. Okay.
Wow. Great things are going to come out from this symposium, and we want to hear the success stories after that. Another challenge Margaret mentioned was really around infrastructure. This is something I personally have been talking about, how the Africans in the diaspora and Friends of Africa can come together to build this infrastructure. We talk about electricity. Energy cost is so expensive, and it really affects manufacturing. When you're talking about road networks, when you're talking about post-harvest losses, this is what affects some of these things. And because they're so capital intensive, it is very challenging for someone as a business to do it. So we really need outside the African diaspora, Friends of Africa, to come together in an investment vehicle and start investing in some of these major projects. And that is the work that we're doing at Regal Africa. And if anyone is interested in finding out more about our vision and wants to work with us, let me know. But definitely infrastructure is a big thing, and building the capacity of our businesses to make sure that they're successful, they're sustainable, they're resilient, and they're adaptable. The world is changing. We have a new normal. The way we did business before is not going to happen, right? So it's like Africa has leapfrogged what a lot of the world had done before. So it's really good to see that we are having this conversation and that we have a ready market of 1.2 billion, and we've been challenged to step up. So thank you again, Margaret. We really appreciate you. I will just take a few, maybe 15 minutes just to answer some questions. I mean, there are many questions coming in. I'll just go through the chat. So if you have any questions, put them on the chat. If they're specific to a speaker, please state that. If they're general, then I'll go ahead and just let the audience know. Starting off, I see people who are just saying it's a great panel. I see a few people from Cape Town, from Hong Kong, from Germany, from Kenya. I'm in Kenya. Oh, wow. I see a lot of things happening here. I see someone talking about networking online, which is great. There are some events coming soon. So just be mindful to be on the lookout for all these different things. And let's see. I see someone from Ghana, Canaan Farms from Ghana, and he says they're happy to be in this meeting. So Ghana, West Africa, there's so much that needs to be done there, cocoa, value addition. So I hope you're paying attention, writing notes, and reaching out to people like Joy who already have something that they're working on. I do see someone from the organic fertilizer certification. You know what? One of the biggest things that Africa has challenges in international trade is standards, right? So again, we also need to be paying attention. We need to be able to actually know that if you're going outside our home country, there are certain things. So pay attention to what the Africa Continental Trade Agreement is talking about, standards, also talking about the other various trade agreements that are around the world. So we have that. I'm trying to get to a question. I see someone says the exporters of fruits and vegetables. Nancy Wakaba, great for you to be here. We export a lot of that to Europe. We feed Europe. And yet there are people dying of hunger in Africa. It baffles me. We really need to get to a place of food security in Africa, even as we export to the rest of the world. I see some marketing consultants from the Netherlands. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some questions. If you have any questions, just go ahead and put it on the chat so that I could be able to have one of the speakers speak on it before we go on to the next speakers. All right, let's see here. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions per se, but I'm seeing very good reports. People are talking about it's an interesting conversation. People are talking about access to finance. Okay, people are talking about empowerment at the Africa Women platform. So there's a lot on the chat. Let me see here. Eunice is talking about select fresh produce Kenya. She's just fresh produce. If anyone wants fresh produce, just get her contact there. I do see someone here talking about knitting machines. And now China has this decreased knitting. So is that an opportunity there? We can ask somebody who knows about knitting. Okay. All right, so someone asked, Michael Larby, he says, please may I ask if the investors on this meeting are only focused on investing in East Africa countries? That is not correct, but maybe I can go ahead and have Gadu answer that. Are you only focused on East Africa, or are you looking at Africa in general? Gadu?
Yep, thank you, Anne. So Working Capital Associates specifically is based out of London. So we support trade all over the world. A majority of our book actually is in Latin America. And then we focus as well all across Africa, right? So we are all over the world. Okay.
Thank you for that. I apologize maybe because I'm East African. I've spoken a lot about East Africa, but no, this is about invest in Africa. So we're looking at all the regions of Africa. So if you're interested in investors for your particular country, you can reach out, like I said, to the team, and they will be able to connect you to somebody who is an investor for your particular industry, for your particular region, because different investors are looking for different things. All right. As I go on here, I do see someone says, as mentioned by Gaika, to establish the African brand, it is imperative for African startup MSMEs and SMEs to look beyond their respective local boundaries. For the get-go, be in with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement context or in the global context. I agree, we need more African brands. We need more African brands, good quality, good pricing, everything needs to be done right, because again, we're hearing Africa is a rising continent and we produce great things that look good. The packaging has to be good and the pricing has to be good. So Africa has a positive thing. So I'll continue just looking at these questions. And if I as I look at these questions, I want
maybe I can put in a thought.
Yeah.
While you're looking for some questions, I would love to address something which Joy also mentioned. But I think it's maybe important for a few attendees we have today, that actually in Germany we have quite a lot of programs where we actually can bring African startups to Germany, full funded, and they can live and work in Germany for a couple of months, 6 months to 12 months, work on their product, work on their company, on their idea, together, of course, with German entrepreneurs, and then develop it full funded and go back to Africa afterwards, after they have completed this program. There's a lot of those programs in Germany. I would love to address that. I think this could be interesting for some entrepreneurs.
Wow, thank you, Benjamin, for that. It's always great to share information. As you can see, if you're an entrepreneur, you have a brand, a product that you want to test, that you want to get in your program. There are programs that you can actually work with in Germany. What I know about Germans, they're really big on SMEs or small businesses, right? It's that is what their economy is about, right? And they are very, how do I say, but they're well run. It's not an informal economy. I always tell people the difference is German economy is formal. The small businesses are formal. They can access markets, they can access finance because they run their business right. So we in Africa can actually change from an informal economy to a more formal economy. We'll be able to access markets, access finance, build our businesses to a point that then even if you're an SME, it will be a well-run business. So I think, Benjamin, I'd want you to share that information with the Invest in Africa team so that anyone who's interested, who's listening, can actually reach out to them and to you, and they can learn more about that. Thank you very much. One last question before I go into the next speaker, because I don't want to take too much of your time. I do have Ashwini Bandari. She says she has a client looking to locate and do business in Kenya with Kenyan craftsmen, from jewelry makers, quality crafts, and artisan goods for processed new startup business. Please connect us. So there's somebody here who's looking for Kenyan craftsmen and jewelry makers. I know that industry, it's big, it has great potential. So if anyone is interested in that, could they please reach out to the Invest in Africa team and Ashwini Bandari so that she can be able to connect you to that client. And maybe, Ashwini, I would say maybe you can also talk to Joy in the African women in Europe or African women in trade, because there's so many women in this particular business. So she might know we can do that. So
I can encourage the person to go on the www.africawomenintrade.com or .org. You go there and you will find a lot of women already, because we're encouraging trading in the continent. That's my focus at the moment, not Europe at this point. More exchange, like you can get the bits to the right people, because as you know, these attire, we are the ones who wear these attires. So the right your customers is actually in Africa, so you can connect with them from South Africa, from we have all countries, Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia, Egypt, all these continents, because this is our culture, and we're encouraging trading in the continent. That's our focus. I have seen a question here. Maybe you didn't see it, and I wanted to read it for you. Somebody put here. We have a lot of hospitality investment opportunities here in Kenya and East Africa as a whole. How would we go to find foreign investors in these sectors, which is a great foreign currency? I'm just reading directly.
Okay.
This is from Tony Muriori. Maybe you can unmute yourself and explain what was the question, because it's not quite clear, I think.
Tony. I think what I would say as we're waiting for Tony, the investors like we had today was Benjamin, which was mostly about startups. Gaduo was talking about trade finance, because again, the essence of this webinar was about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and investing in Africa. So Tony, I will say that there are opportunities in the hospitality. In fact, at Regal Africa, those are one of the key industries we focus on. But COVID affected the hospitality industry hugely, and any investor looks at cash flow. So if you've been highly impacted the last year, it might not be maybe the right time to look for investors, or you need someone who has patient capital. So what I would like to say for you is reach out to Invest in Africa, who will then connect you to us at Regal Africa, because again, hospitality is one of the sectors we focus on, especially because we believe Africa is beautiful. People can travel. I mean, we are not only about the big five. I mean, there's so much to see on this continent, and there are investors who are interested in that. So, but then most of those investors are very specific. So yes, there is opportunity, but then again, timing is everything. So an investor really need to look at the project to see about the potential. That's what I have to say. I don't know if Benjamin, you have something to say about that, because I know Gado is about trade finance, so that's not his space.
I would love to answer a question. Peter Carragher has asked a question. It is necessary for an investor to take up a seat in the board. Personally, I prefer to do that. It is of course not necessary. It's of course a thing about if you're trustworthy, if you can trust a person, if you're far away, if you're close, if you live in the same country, and so I think it depends on different things if you should do it. As I said, I prefer to do it, to have a control. You know, if you give someone money, you want to control the money.
Yes. And I think from a governance perspective, it's important the person who has money is on the board. But those are things that, and I hope we have another webinar around governance, because that's something really challenged in Africa, whereby there's an issue of control. But if you want someone to support your business, then there's certain things that need to be in place so that someone can support you. I think I want to turn it around, because right now we've been talking very generally, right, about the Africa investments, about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We've talked about startups. We've talked about women. In fact, I saw a message, someone felt neglected being a man. I apologize about that, but we felt like it's very important, because a lot of women and youth have a challenge in Africa, but this is about all Africans, men, women, the youth who are men and women, and African businesses, friends of Africa, Africans in the diaspora. It's all well-rounded. But right now, I think I want to change it back to be very specific, especially when we talk about Africa. I'm very excited that we will have Ms. Dorothy Githai, who is a private sector partnership expert at 360 Degree International. She will be talking about agribusiness. I mean, for me, when I think about Africa and I think about the potential of Africa, I think about agribusiness. And I always say it's not agriculture, the production, but the whole value chain, from production all the way to consumption, from farm to fork. So I'm very excited to have Dorothy Githai here. And I would like for you, Dorothy, to be able to share with us, what do you think are the opportunities in agribusiness in Africa? And how can you tie that with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement? Because you hear all these stories that the largest arable land is in Africa. There's so much production that happens, yet the other side of the story is we see starving Africans. We have issues with food security. For example, in Kenya, the Big Four, one of the main things is food security. At the same time, we are feeding Europe and the rest of the world. In fact, I always tell people when I was doing my MBA project, I was in China, and that's when I learned the Chinese need Africa to feed them, right? So we have this ability to feed us and the world, and yet it's not being done. So from you as a private sector expert, what can you tell us as investors? What can you tell us as business people? What are the opportunities that you see that part of us not taking full benefit of the resources that we have, we can change that story. And the next thing we know, you know how in the States, the millionaires make money out of technology around the world, it's financial service and real estate, that the billionaires will come from the agricultural sector, agribusiness. Tell us, Dorothy, what do we need to learn from your perspective? Welcome. And please unmute, because you're on mute. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. And I have to pay homage to the speakers that have come before me, Benjamin, Joy. All the discussions, really, really amazing input. I've learned a lot along the way. I want to say that I have a feeling that Africa is going to surprise the world in a few years, in a couple of years. Right now, if you allow me to share my screen, please.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, let me get my presentation up. Can you see my presentation?
Not yet.
No.
Let me see if the team can be able to let Dorothy share her screen. Okay, please bear with us a moment.
That's fine.
Okay. And as we're waiting for Dorothy to please share her screen, I would really recommend, if you're not speaking, please mute. Also, if you're not a speaker, please put off your video so that we can make sure that we see the whole presentation and we can hear it very well. So please mute, and please, for the speakers, you can keep your video on, but for the rest of them, we'd appreciate if you could just mute and keep your video off. Okay, thank you. Dorothy, we can see your presentation.
Brilliant. Okay, so first of all, I'm really happy to be able to do this outside. And I think I want to say on a positive note about Africa, despite the fact that we have all these challenges, I think there's a lot coming for us. I mean, as you know, Africa has surprised the world with COVID, and everybody's wondering how come, as it was predicted, the Africans are not dropping all over the streets. And I don't know, by God's grace, the genetics, the food we eat, all these green vegetables, farm to fork type of thing, you know, it's all out there. So with agribusiness, there's a lady called Jennifer Blanque who said the sleeping giant needs to wake up. And it is very, very true that Africa as a continent has so much potential. And I mean, if I can just, I put a few figures for the panel, for people who are on this Zoom meeting, and in addition to people who want to look at Africa, who might not know much about Africa. I mean, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, I believe, is a paradigm shift for Africa, if well harnessed. If you look at what the European Union has been able to achieve, despite the fact that now they're having challenges in this Brexit, European Union has been able to achieve so much turnover in terms of billions of dollars because they decided to become one market. And I think that has made a really, really huge difference for them. Africa is a single market of billions and billions of consumers, over 2.5 trillion GDP. It's a huge potential. In terms of food import, this is a surprising bit. Africa imports over $35 billion for food. And it's predicted it's going to go higher. By 2025, Africa's population, of course, is growing. It's gonna be the highest growing with a lot of youth. That is going to be 110 billion in terms of agriculture and exports. Yet we have 60%. Now this one shocked me. 60% of the world's arable land is in Africa, and we've got loads and loads of water. Freshwater lakes, rivers flowing. A really energized youth and stuff like that. So the question is, what is it? And what is it that curtails Africa? I can say, another statistic that is also very shocking is Nigeria imports a lot of their rice. They are the highest consumers of rice in the continent. over 8 million metric tons, but they import half of it. And Africa as a whole is a big importer of rice. You know, this is one thing I've come to realize. I think everything has its journey, and the world is kind of coming around to a journey. Africa is known for, it's one of the continents that has least pollution. We still have a lot of forests. So in terms of climate change, pollution, because of all of this important stuff, but the pollution levels in terms of the air pollution is much less. And I do believe that, as you said, Anne, Africa will become the breadbasket of the world. Now, the question is, how much of that income and revenue will turn into African countries? And I've given there just a map purely on rice, because rice is a big, it's a product that's consumed a lot as a food across Africa. And you can see, these are the African countries that produce rice. According to Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement and the Africa Development Bank, there is a focus to double the production of rice within Africa, over 28 million metric tons. And I do believe that Africa should begin to export rice to China, to Vietnam, to Indonesia, rather than importing. One of the things that I know is that, of course, not price, but in terms of financing is critical. So the likes of Benjamin, it's very important. But I also have to say, the market is made in such a way that Africans are not able to sell out. Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of farmers that do very, very good produce, but sometimes there's so many things along the way that halt them. And you know, it's not specifically that Africans, Africans have challenges for sure, because our markets are very unstructured. But again, the global markets were created in such a way that Africa would be demanding from the world and the other way around. But because of technology, because of the opening around, and one of the things that I really am a big believer in, and I'm so happy about, is the social media. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. There's a slight, yes, we can hear you now. Please continue.
Okay.
And everyone else, please be on mute. We'll appreciate that. Thank you.
No,
Dorothy.
Yeah, great. Yeah. I was going to say that in the past, Africa relied a lot on, what Benjamin was saying, somebody else creating the narrative for Africa. Now, Africans are able to create their own narrative. And Africans are able to say that we've got good quality foods that are not infiltrated with anything. We've got good quality produce that, so the only thing that needs to be unlocked is, to be honest, value addition. If you look at the European Union, the EU is the biggest supplier with over 40% to the world of food, consumable food. And the reason for that is because they're adding value. And so whatever they're selling out is with a lot of money. So Kenya recently zero-rated processed tea, and I think that's a very good opportunity, because it means that people will be able to actually, the Kenyans will be able to earn more income from tea rather than have tea processed out and come back again. I mean, look at the case in Nigeria where they take the oil out and then it's processed and gets back to Nigeria. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, the opportunities are there, and I'll give you examples based on personal experience. So I was very lucky to visit Ireland. Ireland is one of the countries that has been extremely successful with their agribusiness and food production, but it was not, it just happened overnight. If you look at how much they are exporting to China, 547 million euros to China worth of food, mainly beef, but they export a lot of food and drinks to these other countries. And so in 2019, they consecutively increased their exports by 56%, 67%. And one of the reasons why they did that is that the government and the organizations like Board Beer, Tiggas created a huge marketing campaign, which included branding their produce, making sure they had a consistent brand, Origin Green, making sure that all these farmers, like what Joy is doing, came together and got the quality, the standards, so that the packaging, and by the way, sometimes the African produce misses the flight purely because of some simple label that was not put properly, And so this is just standardizing. I mean, in fact, I think the bigger capacity, the capacity building in terms of running businesses has been done, but capacity building in terms of following the regulations for international export is, I think, the part that's remaining. So that when you get your produce to the airport, you don't have a lot left back. Sometimes it's just little, labeling issues that happen. And so Ireland has had huge success with a lot of innovation, ingenuity, and now they have what they call the agri-food strategy, Food West 2025, which they're targeting.
Hello, Dorothy.
I think we lost her.
Oh, wow, must be her signal.
So there are opportunities for Africa. And I really do have to say that there is nothing that is lacking in Africa. For any investor sitting there, Benjamin and Joy, as you're in the EU, anybody wishing to invest in Africa. And I was happy when Benjamin started. He said when he came to Africa, he was shocked. You know, there's everything that you could think of. There's hardworking people. I mean,
All right, it looks like Dorothy is having challenges with her signal. Let's just give her a minute. If not, then we'll just go ahead to the next speaker. But that's quite unfortunate because she's really giving us a lot of information. I've been liking the fact that she's mentioning what Ireland has been doing, especially around branding. So when you think about agribusiness, you think about Ireland, how they support the farmers, how they aggregate them together. Especially in Africa, we have very many small-scale holder farmers. So it's about aggregating. So the farmer who is probably doing those beans or maize is not able to export, but if they aggregate it together, they can be able to export. So in Africa, we need to start working around that, especially around making sure we support cooperatives who put these farmers together. She mentioned about packaging. We have really good products, but our packaging is not, A class or world class. So we need to work on that. So if you're a business person, I hope you're paying attention to that and standard, right? So if you're selling in your local market, yes, you have a local authority that looks at your standards, but then when you actually do it internationally, it's taken to a higher notch. So we really need to pay attention to that. She mentioned about how Africa is a sleeping giant and we need to wake up. Again, that's another challenge for all of us who are in business. And the fact that we have one market that is actually the largest free trade area, that's a really good thing. And we need to really look at what we're doing when we are importing things. Nigeria is importing a lot of rice. And I think me who's in Kenya, we have an area here called Mwea in Kirinyaga that has a lot of rice. Are we exporting that rice to Nigeria, or is Nigeria getting that rice from outside the continent? Again, those are the platforms that we are talking about, the work that AWT is doing, the work that at Rigo we're doing in international trade. How do we connect so that if you are in Nigeria, if you're in Sudan and you want rice, you can come to Kenya. You want tea, you can come to Kenya. If you want cocoa, you can go to West Africa. If you want wine, you go to South Africa. I mean, we have all these things on the continent, but unless we speak to each other, unless we connect with each other, we will start doing business outside. Now, there's no problem doing business outside, but we need to start working on how do we do business together. The European Union does business together. Asian market does the same thing. North America, Latin America do business the same. It's only in Africa, which I think Dorothy alluded, where we are always thinking about exporting out as opposed to exporting within. And so I think that is what the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is doing to make sure that we are able to do business with each other. Now, big thing also is around capacity. So sometimes we might not have the capacity as African businesses to actually even cover the demand in our own country. So how are we saying we're exporting? So there's an issue around how do we build capacity of us as Africans. So there's a lot of work to be done, but I'm very happy that we are going in the right direction. I hope Dorothy can join us. But as we wait for her, I think I would like to now go in and talk about country. Today we had scheduled to have two people, one from Somalia and one from Rwanda. I do see Mr. Philip Laki from Rwanda, but I believe we had Mr. Mohammed from Somalia. Mr. Honorable Mohammed, are you on the call? Okay. It doesn't look like he is on the call right now. Oh, Dorothy, can you hear us? Okay, sorry, you got disconnected, so I was about to go to the next speaker, but since you're back on, would really like you to continue sharing with us what you've been telling us and challenging us to look at, when you're talking about agribusiness, we look at what Ireland is doing and how they've been able to support their farmers and really look at the whole value chain. And their largest, where the export is actually to China. And I keep telling people the Chinese need food, right? Africa can feed them. So go ahead, share with us your screen, and then we will then go to the next speaker. Go ahead, Dorothy.
So I think I had kind of, let me just share. Can you see? I mean, basically, I was on the last slide, and I was saying that I believe that it's they said many years ago in terms of Africans realizing that they've got what it takes, and that they're not the lesser people. And I know that with the technology and people getting much more exposed, information more available. I believe Africa is going to really turn around. I want to challenge organizations like Joy, what Joy is doing, the African Women in Europe. Please ask your members to focus on finished produce, because it's one for export French beans. Our grandparents did that. Our parents did that. Can they focus on produce that have been packaged and finished? Because with the value addition, there's a lot more of dollars coming into the country, and then the farmer is able to get more value. I mean, there's a lot of capacity building that has been done, and we know that the business people are aware that what the value of their produce, but what they really must do is value addition. Whether it's bananas, can they process them? Whether it's a passion fruits, can they process them? And mangoes, again, that also takes care of post-harvest loss. Because if you process the produce, then you don't have to worry about post-harvest loss. So, what I was going to the investors is that Africa has it all, beautiful markets. I mean, you can get everything and anything in Africa. And so we know the continent is really going to surprise the world. And I know that now there's political goodwill within the African Union, with support from the Global Sustainable Development Goals, I mean the UN as a whole, and also that Africans themselves, the different countries have their visions and they're following them through. And also there's a lot of infrastructure development in the different countries. I really think that we can turn the things around, and we don't have to wait for anybody. Joy, with a group of women, let them start packaging passion fruits, and the mango, and ready the chutney, and that's how to turn around the continent, by actual value addition. And Anne, I'm gonna leave it there.
Okay, wow, thank you, Dorothy. You've left us again with a challenge: value addition, value addition. That is how we avoid post-harvest losses. That is how we grow our businesses. That's how we create wealth. And one of the things earlier you mentioned was about there are very many barriers. And true, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement focuses on the tariff barriers. So there is free movement of goods and services, no taxes, no duties. But again, there are non-tariff barriers. And I think that is where I put the challenge back to the business people. You need to be able to share and work with organizations that actually can talk to governments and say, look, yes, we're trying to export, We're trying to do intra-Africa trade, but these are the non-tariff barriers that we're experiencing, because unless they know, then they will not be able to find a way to overcome it. So again, we need
can
to
I just add something very quickly?
Sure.
That
Yeah.
within Africa, there's a huge market, and sometimes less stress, less issues, and you get more value. So we must not ignore the African market. There's a perception that, you know, the Africans will not buy. No. Within Africa, it's actually a huge market. I have friends in Nigeria, for example, who say when they look at our fresh apples and all these vegetables that we have, they're like envious. And if they could have somebody package and send it to them weekly, you know what I mean? So we must also look inwardly and take opportunity of the African market. Thank you.
Yes. And I think Benjamin mentioned that creating awareness. I'm so surprised because, like, you know, I say Kenya is all about tea. And I talk to my friends in Ghana and they don't know because they import all their tea from the UK. And I'm like, don't you know Kenya has the best tea, right? And the same thing with South Africans. So we are not talking with each other. We are not talking with each other. We need to be able to actually create, again, back to creating brands so that people know that we can do business with each other. I want to be able to buy things from Nigeria. I want to buy things from Namibia. What is it? And that's why we need more platforms. And that's why we also have to map. We need to map Africa and know, again, what is it that you're doing? Because as businesses, I always tell people, if you're in Kenya and you want to, or I keep using Kenya. If you are in Tanzania and you want to export your rice, you want to know that Nigeria needs it, right? And so you will not know unless actually you have the trade data. And I always tell people there is a lot of trade data out there by the International Trade Center. For women, they have a program called She Trades, but for others, the data is out there. You can actually tell the market potential. So if you're in Africa and you want to do business in Africa or around the world, you want to go out there and say, for the product that I have, if I have milk and I want to export it, who will buy my milk? Is it beef that I'm exporting? Is it coffee that I'm exporting? Is it tea? If you know that market, then you understand the requirements. It's easy for you to do business. So you don't go into business blindly. You have to actually be very intentional about that.
Can I add on that one?
Sure, go ahead.
Because since I was put on spot again, and I love it when I'm put on spot, I want to take that challenge, because that challenge is exactly what we have taken up. And thank you so much, Dorothy. We need to link up, because what you're saying is exactly what is happening. We need to create the market, Africa market. And as I said I did Africa in Europe. It's changing completely to put Africa market. And I can attest to this, the women of African women in trade, as you said, communication, and also Anne, you just confirmed communication. Nobody knows what is where. And just opening a platform where communication and connection can happen. Women are trading like crazy. We are seeing them buying from one another, from one area to the other one, without us doing anything in between. And this is untrapped business for even investors out there, the diaspora. This is, I mean, Europe, I call it's already covered with the mafia. Sorry about that, but it's already clogged when it starts thinking of exporting in Europe. But where the business is actually in the continent and in Africa, and these are emerging markets. And I mean, if there's any investor here, you should be really going into that area, how to help the export. And you can jump on our board. We are ready to take you out with you on our board, because we are going to, this is the area we are targeting, making sure that one country know what the other one is giving, and broadcasting, just talking, having so many seminars like these ones, talking about this. And this is one of the biggest thing, and we're going to have a big event before the year end. And we will also, after COVID, we'll be also on the ground, going to an investors or business from one country coming to present from what they have. We have very big vision, and thank you. The challenge taken, and it's already in action.
All right, thank you, Joy. So now we'll go ahead and now be more country specific, and we'll have a few different countries. We were supposed to have Honorable Mohamed Dare from Somalia. I was really excited to hear him talk about the opportunities in Somalia, because I always say Somalia is the star of Africa, and there's so much opportunity, but then again, there are challenges there. But because he is still having challenges joining in, I'd like us to go ahead and welcome Mr. Philip Lucky. Mr. Philip Lucky is the International Marketing Manager of the Rwanda Development Board. And we all know and we've heard about the great things about Rwanda when we're talking about development. It's a small country in East and Central Africa, but they have managed to come up from challenges to grow their country and the economy. And again, we all around Africa are challenged. So I'm very happy to bring on Mr. Lucky. And if you can share with us some of the investment opportunities in Rwanda so that we can all be able to tap into them. But also would like for you, Mr. Lucky, to tell us, what is Rwanda doing right? I always tell people we need to share best practices. So if you could share with us what Rwanda is doing right and how we can be able to tap into the opportunities in Rwanda, I think that would be really great for the audience. So welcome, Mr. Lucky, to the symposium. I see you, but I don't see your video. If you could put on your video, we will all appreciate that. Okay, I see you. All right, welcome, Mr. Lucky, and you can unmute.
Thank you very much, Anne, and to everyone on this symposium. It's really a pleasure to connect with you all. And I really want to extend my sincere appreciation to Mr. Patrick and the rest of the team at Invest in Africa for giving us the opportunity to talk to your network, but at the same time to your members as well. I feel this is a very great opportunity for us, and thank you for considering us. Now, as you mentioned, I'm Philip Lucky, and I'm the head of investment marketing department here in RDB. And I'm sure that everyone may probably have seen or heard about the Rwanda Development Board. If you've come to do business in Rwanda, definitely the starting point for you to do that is none other than Rwanda Development Board. So it's a very big institution that was established in 2008 as a result of merging 8 different institutions. And again, as you mentioned earlier, what are some of the best practices? Perhaps this would be the first best practice that would be ideal to share with my fellow brothers and sisters on this webinar. One of the things that we realized 10 years back is that doing business in this country was quite cumbersome, costly, bureaucratic, and it was very, very difficult, if I can sum it up. But then government really had to think of ways, how do we break all these bottlenecks for us to be able to make it easy for people to do business more easily. So this is how our institution came up, establishing a one-stop center. And merging 8 different institutions is not something that is very easy. To some people, they may see it as as a problem that will create unemployment or anything. But to Rwanda, we saw it as a very quick solution that can help us to address some of the key challenges that we had at the time. And so today we have a fully established one-stop center that provides numerous services, from business registration, to investment registration. 10 years back, registering a company in Rwanda would take almost 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Today, it's been simplified. You can register your company in less than 6 hours. It's online and free of charge. So which means you don't need even to come to Rwanda to register your company. You can register it wherever you are, whether in Europe, for as long as you're connected to internet. So you can imagine. And the cost was almost 350% of our national GDP for you to register a company. Now we've brought it to 0. That is very quite significant. Mm-hmm. And then of course the other things were around, tying you to a local shareholder. For you to be able to open a company, at least it must be 50-50. That ceases to exist. So which means if you're foreign national, you can actually own a company 100% in any, and then be able to operate a business in any sector. And then the other thing is really we operate a one-stop center that offers investment services. If you want to obtain a work permit, things deal with environmental impact assessment services, tax services, even intellectual property. People want to register their trademarks, patent rights. That is something that we offer within our institution. And then lastly, we are also a de facto institution in charge of tourism promotion. So perhaps you might have seen a lot of efforts around Visit Rwanda, through the Arsenal partnership. All that work is really done by our tourism department. And really the obligation is to see how do we use tourism as an opportunity for us to market the country, but even the continent as a whole, because we believe that Africa has the potential And again, going back to what my brothers and sisters were saying, we have a lot of natural resources that people are not able to see. So if we invest in such kind of platforms, visibility definitely will create more opportunities for us to get people to visit not only Rwanda, but even the continent as a whole. I don't take much of the time. I really want to go into the opportunities.
Okay.
And I will try as much as, if you can allow me, and I want to share a deck.
Sure, we can be able to let you share your screen. So the team, if you could just let Philip share his screen, then you can be able to share the opportunities.
Yeah. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
I'll try to enlarge it. So I'll try to be very fast. I know my slides are too many, but I'll try to break down the presentation. So of course, for anyone who probably doesn't know Rwanda, this is to give you a very quick picture of our country. As Anne mentioned earlier, we're a very small, tiny country, as you can see from the map of Africa. We're almost around 26,338 square kilometers. So we are at the heart of Africa, as you can see on the map. But in terms of the macroeconomic environment, we have, the population of our country is around 12.6 million. We speak over 4 languages. That's an advantage to our population, but even for business. So we all speak in Rwanda as a national language, but French, English, and Swahili are the other languages that are used across all the country. In terms of the GDP, as you may have probably known, that our country really went through a very tragic history, coming from the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. Our economy has been very resilient. And of course, the resilience has all been built by the leadership that has found it essential for us to be able to build a foundation that can, bring people together, but at the same time, build a very resilient economy that actually benefits all. And so today, as you'll notice, our GDP per capita is at 818, and our target is really to, increase that by over $1,000 in the next 5 years. In terms of the business environment, it's, there's a lot to share. And I'm pretty sure that people in this symposium might have probably seen some of the success stories that our country has registered over the last 26 years. Of course, our country has really taken a very resilient journey to build the socio-economic fabric that was completely decimated. We had to literally start from scratch for us to be able to unite communities, rebuild infrastructure, but also putting in strong policies that can help to rebuild our economy, with a vision coming into place whose main objective is really to transform Rwanda into a middle income country. So these are some of the key areas that we've been able really to make some, progress, but also remarkable achievement. In terms of the economy, we're the second fastest growing economy in Africa, growing at almost 8% per annum since 2007. But of course, that is going to change given the current situation with COVID. So many countries, including ours, has been affected. So our projections that we're supposed to grow above 8% from 2019, but that is likely to go below 2% according to the IMF projections. And of course, in terms of safety, security is very, very key for us. Having come from a very, very bad history that was characterized with insecurity, but even with a genocide that claimed over 1 million lives, we found that security is the pinnacle for growth. If we really want to make our environment more safe and attractive for people to come here, then we have really to make sure that our country is safe and secure. And so because of that, Rwanda has been ranked the safest country to walk at night worldwide. This is according to the Gallup report. It's not an internal report that was done by a government institution in Rwanda. This is an international report. And then when it comes to ease of doing business, we're the second easiest place to do business in Africa. That's after Mauritius. And again, as I mentioned, the reason why we're the second easiest place to do business in Africa is because of the reforms that we have undertaken over the last 10 years. We've acknowledged that we had challenges and then realized that how do we create these challenges into an opportunity for us to be able to create a very dynamic and attractive business environment. We had to do a lot of work in, changing policies and laws, but at the same time working with the private sector, because all these laws that we do, all the business laws that we do are not meant for government. The final consumer is, the local private sector. So public-private partnership is very, very essential for us to be able to understand the challenges and then be able to address them in a more pragmatic way. And then the other thing is that, of course, we are very, we're a very gender-sensitive country. We believe that women have a very, significant role to play, whether in public or private sector. And so because of this, you may have seen that today Rwanda is among the top, is among the countries that has the biggest percentage of women in parliament, over, 61% and around 50% in cabinet. And we see women playing a very instrumental role, whether in government. My CEO is a woman and playing a very key role in, in driving the, investments, trade, and tourism as well. So in terms of the business environment, again, as I mentioned, our goal really is to see how do we make it easy for people to come and set up their businesses here. But at the same time, to put in some of the policies or incentives that can allow people to, set up their businesses, some extent free of cost, but at the same time putting in incentives that can help to accelerate the growth of, of some key sectors that can drive our economic development to the next level. So today we have the investment code that does provide for different incentives, and these incentives, again, as I mentioned, are very much sector centric. And of course, our goal is really to be able to look at sectors that can help to increase our exports. And then secondly, is to create decent and productive jobs for the local market. So this slide is basically to give you a very quick summary on some of the incentives provided for within our investment code. We have a preferential corporate income tax of 15%. If you're a company that is going to export 50% of your production within Africa and outside Africa. I want to go back again to the question of my sister who was saying, if we want to trade within Africa, we should look at ourselves first and then be able to scale up our trade with other countries. And so these incentives are not only benefiting for companies that are exporting outside Africa, but even within Africa. And then secondly, we're also looking at 7-year corporate income tax holiday for companies that are able to at least invest a minimum of around $50 million US. And then of course the other incentives we have like import duty exemptions on raw materials and machinery. So these are some of the key incentives that we have that are there to facilitate any new investors that want to set up their business here in Rwanda. And of course, the other important thing that any investor would ask Anne is we do not have restrictions on foreign ownership. So you can own land 100% here in Rwanda. We don't have any restrictions. You'll be treated like a local person, and if you buy land in Rwanda, you'll be given all the necessary land documentation to make sure that at least you're very comfortable with running your business here. And then the other thing is that we also don't have any restrictions on foreign, on profit repatriation. So if you want to repatriate your capital and assets, then it's easier. You can actually do it for as long as you meet your tax obligations. Now, if you allow me, I'll go straight to the opportunities. But before going to the opportunities, I really want to touch base on this important slide, which is really about market access. A lot has been said about the Continental Free Trade Area, which is definitely a key landmark for the continent. 1.2 billion is quite a very significant market. And I certainly believe that if we really, follow the steps, if we really, embrace the CFTA, then Africa is going to take another level. We are going to see a lot of development, whether in agribusiness, whether in trade, in investment, in tourism, everything, in aviation, So if we can really, take the opportunities provided by the CFTA, then I believe there's going to be a completely new change on the continent. But allow me to also touch base on this slide. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Rwanda is a very small country of around 12.6 million, but being a member of
the last time to rinunulia udem card ni lini? January.
Sorry, Philip.
No?
Could you please mute? If you're not speaking, we'll appreciate that. I apologize about that. Go ahead, Mr. Philip. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry about the interruption. So I was saying that, Rwanda being a member of different regional economic blocks, gives a very significant access, to a very bigger market within the East African community. We have a population size of over 186 million population. So if you set up your business here, you can easily trade within the ESC. You can export your goods to Kenya, to Uganda, Tanzania, South Sudan, and Burundi. And either way, Kenya can easily export to Rwanda or any other country. And of course, there's also free movement of goods and services, which literally makes it easy for people to move, to trade across the region. And of course, the other thing is that we're also a member of COMESA, which is the common market for East and Southern Africa. And of course, looking at the market size within the COMESA, it's over, it's almost 500 million. So if you come to do business in Rwanda, definitely it's easier for you to trade all across the COMESA region, as you can see from the slide. Now, the other important part that I would also want to highlight is on the proximity market. Being at the heart of the continent somehow gives us an opportunity. Being a landlocked country shouldn't be an excuse for us not to, boost our trade, but rather we should look at that as an, as an opportunity to see how do we trade amongst ourselves, across the region, not only within Rwanda, but even beyond Rwanda. And so some of the proximity markets that we have is the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is very, very, very close to Rwanda. So we have two important markets, and that's, Goma. For those who've been to Goma, will notice that there's a lot of opportunity for trade in Goma, and same for Bukavu. So given that proximity gives us a very, very strong access in terms of market access, but even supply. And that's why government today is very much committed to setting up the infrastructure in the cities that are very close to these two cities in DRC to make sure that at least there's consistent supply of major goods and services across the two areas. Then in terms of connectivity, it's also very important for people on this symposium to learn that, we have a national airline that connects to over 30 destinations. For those that probably have not gotten a chance of flying with Rwandair, when you plan to come to Rwanda, please make it a point to fly with Rwandair to Kigali. Whether from West Africa, one of the things that we literally had to, embrace is trying to see what are some of the challenges that are actually hindering trade within our continent. We found that actual accessibility was one of the key major obstacles. So that's why we came up with a strategy of saying, let's have a national airline that can help us to connect to areas that are actually inaccessible. If you look at connecting to West Africa, Rwandans usually had to go through either Addis Ababa to connect to Abidjan. That's almost the same time that you take you to move from, Rwanda to London. You're moving to over 3 airports within Africa for you to be able to get your final destination. So we said, let us look at that and see how we can connect our, to all these major areas that were inaccessible for us to be able to make it easy for people to come to Rwanda, but even to other countries within the continent. And then the other thing was really to put in place a universal visa regime. Today, any person coming to a country does not need to apply for a visa from any country from the world. Whether you're in Latin America, North America, Europe, Asia, it's just a matter of you buying a ticket and then get on your flight to come to Rwanda. So these are some of the key obstacles that we had to remove, really to make it easy for people to come either for business, tourism, and trade. Now, in terms of opportunities, I would say that quite a number of them. I will try to summarize them on this slide in the interest of time. But one of the areas that I want to highlight, Anne, is that we have, I would say, priority sectors for business. And one of the areas that I want to highlight is manufacturing. That is very, very, very key. And of course, manufacturing combines all the other clusters when it comes to mobility, agro-processing, when it comes to construction materials. We're looking at textile and garments. These are some of the areas that we are looking at, because we believe for us to be able to really, develop our economy, manufacturing should be at the center of this growth. And so because of this, we've placed a lot of emphasis, both from the policy perspective, but even from the facilitation perspective, You know, government today is putting in a lot of efforts in, you know, investing in infrastructure, putting in place industrial parks, you know, special economic zones, for us to be able to make it easy for people who want to come and set up their factories here. Whether you're going to buy land within the industrial park or rent a warehouse, all we want is to make it easy for people to find readily available infrastructure that can enable them to plug and play and then be able to start production. So that is number one. Now, the second sector that we're looking at is agriculture. Of course, we all know that agriculture is probably the backbone of so many economies on the continent. We all rely on agriculture as a major source of food and income. So, but the question has always been, are we getting the right value from the agriculture that we have on the continent? Again, this question goes to you know, the points raised by my brothers and sisters on this symposium. The agriculture we have is not giving value to our farmers. We still sell food, you know, to our local markets, but at the same time exporting raw food to, you know, to European, Asian markets. And the question is, are we getting the best value for the food that we sell? Whether it's, you know, food, fresh fruits and vegetables, we are not. And so the question now, what we're trying to do is really to put in mechanisms that can enable us to, you know, turn our food into finished products and then be able to, you know, give our farmers the best value out of that. And then the other areas that we're looking at really is in finance. Today we've established the Kigali International Financial Center. And within the financial center, we're targeting to address one of the key issues that was raised by the speakers here, access to finance. The cost of financing in Africa is still very, very high. You know, on average, I think interest rates is around 18%. Some countries we've seen even going to 25%. And the question is, are we going to remain competitive? Are we going to facilitate our businesses if we keep the interest rate at that level? The question is no. So what we're trying to do in our country is now we've established the International Financial Center for us to be able to attract new players, you know, new products. You know, we're looking at venture capital, you're looking at private equity funds, investment banks, for us to be able to address that issue of financing for investments in our country. But the other aspect is that we've also put in place incentives that can help us to attract investors from within the continent, but even abroad, for them to be able to set up their headquarters and then be able to serve not only Rwanda, but even the continent as a whole. Maybe lastly, other areas of focus for in terms of investment, we're looking at tourism, we're looking at housing, we're looking at infrastructure, energy, and our emphasis on energy mostly is on renewable energy. So if you're someone who's going to set up a mini grid or a solar off grid, this is an area that presents a very, very huge opportunity. So I think with that, I come to the end of my presentation. And maybe the other last point that I want to raise before going off this presentation is, we're also looking at, you know, attracting proof of concept. That's why I brought out this slide. We realize that there's a lot of potential when it comes to technology and innovation. And we've seen so many ideas in Africa succeed because of, you know, people putting resources together, but at the same time getting the support from the local authorities and governments. And so us as a country, we're trying to see how do we support these ideas, not only from Rwanda, but even from across the continent. And that's why we have what we call a proof of concept strategy. And that proof of concept strategy is there to support new innovations, new ideas that can actually be developed in Rwanda and then be able to scale them up to the rest of the continent. And if you can see from this slide, we have some of the key proof of concept initiatives that have been established in Rwanda. And we're seeing results, you know, because most of these are now expanding to the rest of the continent. For example, we have Zipline. This is the world's first national drone delivery service company from the US. They couldn't get the, you know, the license from the FDA in the US. The only opportunity they could see is they came to Rwanda, saw an opportunity, worked with the Rwanda Development Board, the Civil Aviation Authority, and then they're able to acquire a license, you know, for them to be able to operate drones, you know, transporting blood in our rural communities. Today, as we speak, the company is now expanded to Ghana. I think they're now going to Ethiopia and Tanzania at the same time. Then the other initiatives or proof of concept initiatives that have launched here, we have a company called Volkswagen. Of course, everyone is very familiar with Volkswagen. They have an assembling plant in South Africa. they set up an assembling plant in Rwanda. But one other product they've been able to set up is mobility solutions. You know, Rwanda was one of the countries that they have to develop a prototype, you know, test it, and now it's up and running. So they have a ride and car sharing electric mobility solution that is working very well across the country. And of course, the other initiatives that we have Babil, which is a digital healthcare system that does use, you know, artificial intelligence and machine learning, you know. So here you're able to, you know, arrange an appointment with a doctor. Whether you're in a rural area, it's easier for you to, you know, seek for an appointment for you to be able to get medical treatment in any health center in the country. So this I brought up this slide just to, you know, to understanding to my brothers and sisters here that if we really want to develop and be able to drive the continent to another level, these are some of the initiatives that will help to address some of the challenges that we have today. And I believe so that Africa, we have the potential and we can make it. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you, Philip, for sharing all the information about Rwanda. You've actually painted a picture about the opportunities. I like, and I'm very glad you did not end without sharing us about proof of concept, because for me, I've been watching about the drones and zipline in Rwanda, very fascinated about what you're trying to do because it connects the rural community. So what I'm hearing you saying is that if there are opportunities, then the Rwanda government is willing to support that. And so we hope the rest of the African countries can do the same thing. I also like the fact that you talked about what you're doing with the development board, which is a one-stop center to do business, because really, that really helps a lot of business people. Business people don't have the time or energy to run to too many places. They want it easy for them to do business. One of the things also I was surprised is that you don't charge businesses to establish a business, which to me is quite interesting because it means that you're reducing revenue from the government. But at the same time, I think it's a smart move. This is just my personal opinion, because now you're getting more people to formalize their business. You really know what people are doing in business, and you're encouraging even foreigners to come in and register their business even from anywhere in the world, because everything is digital. So I think that is something that other African countries need to look at with Rwanda. You mentioned about you being the heart of Africa, which I agree. You're a success story of Africa. But because I'm from Kenya, which is your neighbor, let's say we're the gateway to Africa. So I believe like every country has, you know, Uganda is the pearl of Africa, you're the heart of Africa, Kenya is the gateway to Africa. We all have our unique things that we bring to the table. So anyone who's interested in Africa, Africa is not one thing, it's not homogeneous. We are different things, and different places can provide you with the opportunities that you want. So if you're interested in investing, go to Rwanda. If you're interested in investing, the other countries, including Kenya, so go reach out, find out more about it. I like the fact that your country is really focused on the right policies and incentives for businesses to establish in Africa, and even make Rwanda the headquarter, because then they have access to the East African community. They have access to Africa. So I really, really liked that. And you also highlighted with what you're doing with Rwanda Air about being they're connected to the world, because transport and logistics is very key in things like trade, business, tourism. So that's really good to know. And actually what you're doing in the Kigali International Financial Center, I'm in finance, it's something that most of the top financial, many countries around the world, be it the US or the UK or the UAE or Singapore, they actually have a financial center, because that's where the flow of money comes in. So I also think that Rwanda is doing a great thing there. And thank you again, like I said, for painting a picture about Rwanda. It's one of the countries in Africa. We have 55 countries, and as time goes by, you get to learn more and more about different African countries. And because of time, I really wanted to get some of the questions that you've asked on the chat to be answered. I also wanted some last remarks from all the speakers. But before I go into the questions, I just wanted our sponsor. We were sponsored by Startup Africa, who are one of our sponsors. And they have a very interesting program called Hand in Hand, program, which is really trying to support the young people in Africa. So Benjamin, if you could just give us 3 minutes, tell us what is the Hand in Hand program so that the young people of Africa can know what it is that you're doing. And then from there, I'll segue into answering some of the questions on the chat, and then we'll end with the speakers. So go ahead, and Benjamin, just tell us more about the program.
Yes, thank you, Anna. So we talked a lot about that it is tough and hard for young entrepreneurs to find funding. And this is actually an issue we address in our program, Hand in Hand. So what we exactly do is we try to prepare entrepreneurs to be ready to get funding. So what we do is we help them with creating a business plan. We give them access to our network, which is of course in Europe, Asia, and the US. We help them to establish some contacts. If they are willing or if they're interested, we can also help them to establish a base. We add skills. So if you have a founder team, maybe of 2 or 3 persons who need additional skills, maybe IT skills, marketing skills, and so on, we try to add that. So we do different things to get them ready to approach investors and get funding. One more thing, which of course I also mentioned earlier today, is creating awareness, which is of course really important. And yeah, so this is what we do. So it's not all about getting funding. I think it's also really important that you're ready. The team is ready, the company is ready, the idea is ready to even get funding, you know?
Okay. Wow. Thank you, Benjamin, for that, for telling us that it's not only about funding, it's about the business and totality and building capacity. So that is what the Hand in Hand program is doing. So thank you again for sharing that with us.
I will, sorry, if someone is interested in the Hand in Hand program, I can see already now I get some questions.
Okay.
Afterwards, I will send an email to everyone who has been on the webinar today. Then they can contact me if they have any further questions to the program.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. In fact, there are a lot of people who've been asking about the presentations. So what we're going to do is ask the speakers. They will send the presentation to the Invest in Africa team so that then we can be able to put the presentations together, and we'll share everyone who registered an email with all the presentations, because I know there's a lot of information, you have a lot of questions, and I know you'll want to connect with each and every speaker individually. So we will definitely be doing that. Now, I do believe that Rose Rono is on the call. Rose, are you on the call? She's the lady who we were waiting to speak on.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay,
can you be able to see me?
Yes, we can see you, Rose. Thank you very much.
Apologies, and apologies. Apologies, I was very late for this, but I was so eager to be part of this. And I've had some of the discussions, and I'm very happy.
Okay, great. I know we are sort of running late, but for you, all of you who are interested in the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, I would encourage you to wait on and listen to this lady. She is a trade expert. She specializes on the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. She's a director at Kentrade. Kentrade is based out of Kenya. She has a wealth of knowledge, and she's really big around trade facilitation. So she will be able to share with us what is it that we need to know, what are the opportunities presented by the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. And for some of you who are on LinkedIn, I would encourage you to follow her. I get to know a lot of things around trade because of what Rose Rono shares. So I think she's a resource that is very important for anyone who's looking to do trade in Africa or trade with Africa and the world. And so, Rose, what I will do, just because of time, I'll just give you 10 minutes. If you can just share with us the information, the opportunities that you see, what people really need to pay attention to in regards to trade facilitation and really doing business intra-Africa and taking advantage of this new thing that has come in January. So Rose, welcome, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. Would you like me to proceed?
Sure, go ahead and proceed.
Okay.
Share with us.
Okay, thank you so much, Anne, for inviting me. On this, I was supposed to be part of this earlier, but unfortunately something came up the last minute. But nevertheless, I'm so excited to see there's quite a number of people who turned up. And as Anne said, my name is Rose Rono. I work at Kentrade, and Kentrade is a trade facilitation government agency based in Nairobi, Kenya. And I work as a director of trade facilitation. But most importantly, I'm very passionate about the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. I call myself the Kenyan champion, and I encourage all of you to follow me on Facebook. I know it's been a buzzword for the past maybe 1 year, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, but unfortunately the agreement has remained at policy level. It hasn't gone down to people or traders who would be interested in taking advantage of it. So I'll just, I'll speak off the cuff. I had a presentation, but I'm unable to present it now. I'll be able to share it with Anne, and she'll be able to share with all of you. And basically, I'll start by just making you understand what the agreement is. The Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is a trade agreement amongst 54 African countries who have come together and agreed that they are going to reduce tariffs. They're going to reduce the tariffs, the current tariffs. If you are trading between Kenya and Uganda, you'll find, okay, not Uganda, let's say you are trading between Kenya and Nigeria, you'll find the tariffs are very, very high. You'll find that when you're exporting, let's say, avocados to a country like, let's say, Nigeria, the cost of it is going to be very expensive because of the tariffs and also the non-tariff barriers. So what the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement has done is that African countries, 54 of them, only Eritrea is the one who has not come on board, have committed that they are going to reduce these tariffs by 90%. And the reason why the African Union, it's a project of the African Union, and the reason why they thought of this was that there was very little intra-African trade. If you look at studies that have been done, for example, by UNCTAD, you'll find trade between African countries, let's say 2 African countries, is around 16%. But when you go to Europe, trade is around 70%. When you go to Asia, trade amongst the Asian countries is around 50%. So you can see we don't trade amongst each other, yet we are close to each other. And what's the reason for this? It's been the colonial patterns of trading. You know, Africa was colonized, most African countries were colonized, and the trading patterns have been that we are taking our commodities to our former colonial partners and taking them we're taking them in raw form. We are not doing value addition. And these are some of the motivations that made the African Union come up with this concept of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. So up to, I think now, around 34 African countries have ratified the agreement. And that means that they are signaling that they are going to implement that agreement. It was launched on 1st of January this year. And I know countries are still in the process of negotiating their rules of origin, negotiating their market access offerings. But we are hoping that towards the middle of this year, most of the countries will be able to trade under this agreement. And I just want you to look at it from this point of view. What is it that you can be able to, you have as a country that you can be able to send, or you can be able to export to another African country? And you know, we have the same tastes. When you're exporting to Europe, you'll find that there's so much that they put, you know, sanitary, phytosanitary, there's so many certificates that you require. But when we're exporting or importing amongst each other, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement promises to reduce those barriers that are there so that it becomes very easy. Our tastes and preferences are the same. So I think it's time now, if you're an SME, if you're an individual who is interested in export, to look out there. Is there a market that you're interested in? And this is very simple. You can go, there are very many free online tools. For example, there's TradeMap, which you can be able to go and log in and see which companies or which countries is importing a certain product, maybe from outside Africa or even from within Africa, that you're interested in exporting from your country. For example, if you're having some agricultural commodity that you're producing for your domestic market, you can look out there and see, can I be able to venture into the export market? And this will even be more lucrative because now you'll not be dealing with the high tariffs that you initially have had to subject yourselves to. So I think it is time that we prepare ourselves, those who are interested in business, to take advantage of this agreement, because just the ratification of this agreement by 34 African countries has signaled that Africa is ready for business. And I think it's important that we are different from different nationalities here. Some of you have understand the concept of first mover advantage. first mover advantage is who will move into another market faster. So I think it's important if in your country that you push your country, your government to ensure that they implement this agreement so that you can be able to get first mover advantage. When you go to that particular country, you are the first person who has moved into that market, and you can have advantage of setting up prices. You can have advantage of getting, the customers first. So it's important that we get into this, and I think it's also important that government start doing stakeholder engagement. That this agreement not only stays at the level of government officers, development partners, but it has come down to the normal person who is able to trade under the agreement. We also need to prepare ourselves in terms of services. We have the agreement promises to open up African markets. You've heard of the single passport. So what that means is that you can be able to work in any African country as a result of this agreement. Countries are going to make concessions whereby you'll be allowed. So there's the problem we have in Africa of youth unemployment. So you do not have to look at just the job market within your country. You can look at the job market outside your country and start preparing yourself for it. So these are some of the benefits that are going to be there as a result of the agreement: job creation, exchange of technology. Some countries in Africa are very advanced, like Kenya. We have South Africa. But as a result of this agreement, you're going to have a lot of technology exchange. And with this technology exchange, we are going to lift the livelihoods of Africans and ensuring that, we have welfare. There's increased, people are getting out of poverty. We are the continent that is very well known for poverty. But this agreement promises to remove that tag that we have had for a very long time. And one thing that I also want to emphasize on, for those who are already exporting, I have visited a few African countries, and I'll just give you an example of South Africa. When I went to a South African, it was called what? One of the South African supermarkets that's very well known. I looked at the tea section, and in the tea section, there was not a single tea from Kenya, yet we all know the best tea comes from Kenya. When you went to the chocolate section, you only saw the international brands, yet the cocoa that makes those international brands comes from Ghana. So for me, my challenge to you is, can you be able to do value addition? Let us not export those raw commodities. That diamond, let us not export the raw diamond. Can we be able to do those value addition? And that calls for technology. And we now can be able to get technology and partner with. We can be able to partner with China. We can be able to partner. The agreement does not just limit, between trade between African countries. It also invites foreign direct investment. So if you do not have the technology, don't have the technology in your country, you can go to China and see what technology is there and partner with the Chinese person and can be able to offer, bring that technology to your country, do the value addition and export. So for me, I'm seeing the advantage of this agreement is not only for Africans, but also those who are outside Africa and want to partner with Africa. We have Kenyans or Africans in the diaspora. You can be able to come back and invest in their diaspora. I know a lot of people are coming back, and opportunities are there. So if you're in Kenya and you're interested in doing exports, myself, I open up. I can be able to assist you on how to do the export. And I think I can stop from there. My 10 minutes are probably over, but I'll take questions and I'll also share my presentation. Thank you very much, Anne.
All right. Thank you, Rose. And I apologize if I had to rush you. It's just because of time. We've seen some people are leaving because it's extended, but there's so much information. And I'm very happy that John put this Invest in Africa symposium together. And we know we need a lot more. We need a lot more than hours because there's a lot of information, but definitely will appreciate the presentation so that we can share it with the rest of the audience. One of the things I really liked about what you said is Africa is ready and open for business. Yes. That is true. So anyone looking to do business in Africa and with Africa, we are ready and open for business. And the way we are doing it is we are changing the trading pattern. And that's what the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement is saying. Instead of us exporting out only, we're also going to do intra-Africa trade and trade with the world. And the key point here is we need to move from policy to implementation, and we need the government to actually engage the stakeholders. So I know, Rose, you're right there with government. I hope you're talking to them and telling them the business people want to engage because, yes, we have reduced the tariffs. Great. But there are very many non-tariff barriers, and that's what needs to be discussed, and that's what will ensure that more trade is happening, because those are even harder to overcome. So again, thank you very much for that. And I will go ahead and just take a few minutes to go through some questions, and then I'll have the last remarks from all the speakers who are on board, and then we can be able to end the symposium with a vote of thanks from John Karegwa. So I have a question here, and maybe I'll direct this to Mr. Philip Lucky, if you're here. There's a gentleman called Saif El Yazal, and he says, how can foreign companies safely invest in Africa, as there are many barriers when it comes to security and trust? So maybe Mr. Lucky, if you're there, or maybe even Rose. Rose, what can you say? Foreign companies want to come invest in Africa, but security and trust are a big factor. What do you tell them?
Okay, thank you, Anne. I think he's right when you say that, because for a long time, Africa has been known for civil war, and yes, there are some African countries that are still struggling, but I can say that the narrative or the story is changing. In most African countries, we are seeing now a focus towards development and less towards the issues that we have been having. You know, transitions are more peaceful in Africa. So what I would just advise you is that when you're contacting or you want to choosing an African country to invest in, look at the Ease of Doing Business Index, look at investment reports that have been published out there by the World Bank, by international organizations. They can be able to guide you on how, you know, how the country is. And you can see from the Ease of Doing Business, we have Rwanda at the top, we have Kenya at the top, we have Mauritius. So that can be able to guide you in terms of how easy it is to do business in that particular African country. As business, you always want to go in to make profit. So I think it's important that you do your due diligence and pick that particular country that you feel you will get the most return out of it.
Can I add on that, Anne?
Sure, Joy, go ahead.
Yes, diaspora. I can't repeat that again. You need to link up with the diaspora who know how the market is down there. And as you can see, this platform has enough. You have Anne who is here, you have John. Link up with the diaspora. We have here African Women in Trade. We have the businesses on the ground. If you have issues of that, we can speak with you your language. We can connect with you and show you the businesses that we think you should connect to avoid these high risks that are there. And we agree with their high risk. But it's how do you do it? And the diaspora as the bridge. I can't repeat that statement again, because this is our time. The diasporans are ready to connect, but give us the opportunity to work with you. Also trust the diasporans, because you know where to find us anyway. Thank you.
Trust the diaspora. You're one of us. You just went away for a little while. All right. So thank you again for that, Joy. Now I have a question here. There are very many questions. In fact, what I'm really liking about the chat is people are actually saying what they're doing, right? So if you guys can take a time after the symposium, you just look at the chat. People are saying, I'm doing coffee, I'm doing cocoa, I'm doing marketing. There are people here who are doing business and they would like to connect. And
one question, there are some people who are raising hands, and I think I'm being pinned. They want to contribute.
They want to contribute. Okay,
Yes.
I was actually on the chat, so I will go ahead and look who has raised.
No, the ones who have raised their hands.
Yes, let me go ahead and do that because I want to make sure that we get all the questions because I know there are very many questions here. Raising of hands. I see here Haja Mariel. Let me see if I can. Haja, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and answer your question.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. I'm very much happy to be part of this discussion. Thank you very much. Sorry that I am from Sierra Leone. My name is Haja Marie. I am a value chain producer. I do local food in Sierra Leone. And I know that like somebody was saying that we are different from each country. Some countries have some benefits which we do not have. So my question is, how can we make sure all the 54 countries that have signed this African free trade treaty benefit from like a win-win situation? Because we are here, we have a lot of challenges in terms of export, in terms of tax, in terms of licensing. So what can you do? Those who have already gone before, So make sure we also benefit from this particular scheme, so that we don't run at a loss, because we are a small country here in Sierra Leone. We are just coming in. We have, now we have Corona. There was Ebola, and so many things. So now we are coming into this field. How can we make sure we have a win-win situation, so that what we are benefit, we are also can benefit from that as women in business. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be part of this discussion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Haja from Sierra Leone. We appreciate you for being here and asking your question. I think the right person you need to connect with after this is actually Joy, because she's part of the Africa Women in Trade, and they have a lot of information around that. Also, I know Rose Rono mentioned she has work that she does in regards to international trade. That's also another resource. Invest in Africa has different resources. Even I run my company called Regal Africa. We've just set up a Center for International Trade, which is Pan-African. And again, we are sharing information, consulting, actually working with people and connecting them in regards to intra-Africa trade and trade with Africa. So Haja, there are very many resources. Again, you also want to work with somebody who understands what's going on in Sierra Leone. And so you want to look at someone who is either focused on West Africa or has a Pan-African. But I think the first person you want to contact is Joy, and she can then be able to then direct you into the right direction, because we all need the support. So thank you again for that question. And hopefully you can reach out to Joy after this. I don't see anybody else with their hands raised. So maybe I'll just go ahead and take one or two more questions on the chat, so that then now we can have the last words from our speakers. Okay, sorry. There was, okay, people are just asking about presentations. People are talking about presentations. So if you have a very quick question, you can raise your hand up. If not, what we will do is after this webinar, we'll be able to answer questions for you. Like I said, reach out to the Invest in Africa team. But right now, I would like to go ahead and just get the last remarks from each and every one of the speakers. We had 8 speakers today, or one person was not there, but we had 8 speakers today. So I would like to go ahead and just have them do 2 minutes of last remarks in regards to the discussion we're having today. What are the opportunities when you're investing in Africa? What are the opportunities that the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement are doing? That is what people joined in to hear, and I know they got a whole lot of information about that. So I will go ahead and maybe just start off with, and I'll just go ahead and ask randomly. I'll go ahead and ask Mr. Gaduo Joroge of Working Capital Associates. If you're on, go ahead and just share with us your last remarks about what it is that you're doing and what you'd like the audience to take out in regards to access to finance and the trade finance facility that you have. So Gaduo Joroge, please go ahead and give us your last remarks.
Thank you, Anne. I think to sum up today, the major issue we see here is that Africa represents 2% of global GDP, and intra-African trade represents 16% of that 2%, yeah? So there's a wide opportunity for us to trade. Working Capital Associates is here to support all growth SMEs who are trading within Africa and beyond. And yeah, I'm happy to take on calls and meetings with anyone who is interested in financing their working capital as they trade within and without Africa.
All right, thank you for that. I'll go ahead and call on to Ms. Margaret Mudel, if you can go ahead and give us your last remarks. Margaret? Okay, I don't know if Margaret has left, but then I will go ahead and get another lady. Dorothy Githai, if you're on, if you could give us your last remarks. Dorothy? All right, I'm still going down to the ladies. So Joy Vance, go ahead and give us your last remarks.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was such a brain helper for me to even understand how the continent is working. Also in Rwanda, especially, I'm looking forward to connect with you as well, because the African women in trade are now on the move, and I want to really emphasize on 3 points from all these that we have had today. One of it is the mindset. We have to change our African mindset. We can on our own. Sometimes when we don't need investors, it's just about enabling the trading. And now Africa Continental Free Trade has allowed that. How can we change our mindset that when we trade or we do business, that's the way to make money, to move from next step to another one. So we have to change our mindset, and not only that, around how to get ready to accept information, not only trading, as I said, not thinking about trading in Europe, it can happen in the country. And then the second one, capability building. Yes, now you're ready to trade. So where do you start? There's a lot of trainings that you need. Take up all the trainings that are being offered to you. Okay. Train and take them. Some of them are free. We have a platform, which is our academy. We are offering all these trade information that you need also for the African women in trade, because we have realized there's a lot of missing information on the ground. And then the last one, of course, made in Africa for Africa market. That's my message for today.
Great. Made in Africa for the African market. Thank you very much, Joy. I'll go ahead and have Mr. Benjamin Haas go ahead and share with us your last remarks in this symposium.
Yes, for the investors, I would like to say that you have to go down there. There were a few questions about how to approach the African market. And out of my own experience, as I said earlier, you have some kind of expectation, but you have to go down, you have to go to Africa, you have to meet the people, you have to feel the spirit to really on there, and you can't sit back and just wait for things happen. The other thing I would like to say is to all the Africans is that live the African dream and address the African team yourself. As I said it earlier, don't let any white Musungus like me or NGOs tell your story. Do it yourself, get out there, and you will see that you will get a lot of funding.
Great. Tell the African story. Thank you very much, Benjamin. And go ahead, Rose Rono. I would appreciate if you can give us your last remarks in regards to the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Thank you very much, Anne, for that. I think my last remarks is that just share the information that you have received here today. Not a lot of us have the privilege to be part of this. There are people out there who crave for this information. So if you've received valuable information, there's a lot of power in the power of suggestion on talking to people. So if you've gotten this knowledge, just share it out, tell people. And additionally, also, I'd just like to say, be watching the ITC, International Trade Center website. We are working on a training that will be offered to African SMEs on how to take advantage of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. So I will also pass this information to Anne when it is ready. Then you can all enroll in the program and just learn how to trade within the agreement. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Rose. And last but not least is Mr. Philip Lucky from Rwanda Development Board. If you can give us your last remarks.
And I'm here as well.
Thank you very much.
Dorothy.
Oh, Dorothy. Oh, I had called and I thought you had left. Sorry. Yes, so we'll go ahead and Dorothy, just share with us your last remark.
Let my colleague from Rwanda do it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I was going to say ladies first, but okay. Mr. Philip Lucky, if you could give us your last remarks, please.
I would have hoped Dorothy to go first, but it's fine if she has given me the opportunity, then I'll take it on. Thank you very much, Anne, and of course the team for giving us the opportunity to really have a good moment with all the members here. I think this has been a very insightful conversation. We've learned a lot from the different speakers, with the CFTA, with the opportunities that Africa has to present. But one thing that I will probably emphasize is for us to walk the talk. We need to put things into action and be able to move this continent forward. If we're talking of the CFTA, the time to work is now and be able to realize this Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. Another thing is that let us all be connected and you know, and look at ourselves as, you know, brothers and sisters across the continent, because if we take it in that perspective, I so believe that so many things are going to change. And so it all feels good when West connects with the East, East connects with the South, South connects with the Central. This is how Africa, and even the North actually. So if we can, you know, make all these connections, definitely Africa is going to completely change. And I'm sure trade is going to be, you know, take another shape, whether it's business, investments. So many people will see Africa as, you know, as an area that presents, you know, numerous opportunities for business. So thank you very much, and look forward to other sessions in the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Walk the talk, from talk to action, and let's connect for success. And I'll also add what Rose said, share the information. We'll be sharing this recording on YouTube. We're also live on Facebook, so I would appreciate anyone who knows who's in business, anyone who's interested in intra-Africa trade, anyone interested in investing in Africa, please share this recording, because I believe there's a lot of information that they will get that will enable them to be able to, you know, invest, make money, and create wealth for themselves and their families. I'll go ahead to Dorothy Gidai. Go ahead and just give us your last remark as one of the speakers.
Brilliant. Yeah, so I'll leave it on a very, very positive note. I think we've had amazing presentations from the various speakers, and a great contribution from the, you know, from those who attended the symposium. A really huge message to women, especially women and youth entrepreneurs. There's been a lot of capacity building across the continent. Some of you have felt, you know, nothing is happening, but I can say that I feel it even within myself. There's a paradigm shift within Africa and also globally. And I know that this is truly time for Africa. And considering that despite COVID, the African Union went ahead and launched the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and started officially the trade on the 1st of January, that means that there's absolute political goodwill. And as Rose Rono has said, there are opportunities for us with less, you know, less issues and less requirements to trade with across Africa for us. If European Union was able to build its market to so many US dollars every year, we can do it in Africa. So I want to encourage every entrepreneur and all these organizations that are connecting. Benjamin, as an investor, the gentleman, Njoroge, I believe, who was speaking earlier, it's really critical that you put your money where your mouth is, because the entrepreneurs are ready and they need the money. So I'm so excited that this symposium was so positive, and that we've learned a lot, and I personally have learned so much. And I'll be sharing my presentation on the LinkedIn and also to the Invest Africa team. So feel free to just, you know, look at it and ask any questions. Thank you very, very much, and may the Almighty bless you.
All right, thank you, Dorothy, and thank you for reminding us there's political goodwill from the African Union, but it's time for the businesses and investors to rise up to the occasion. Now, before I introduce John again to give us the vote of thanks, I personally want to thank everyone who joined in, but also a very special thank you to Mr. John Karegwa for putting this together and really saying we need to prepare for the Invest in Africa conference that will be coming up in June. And he was determined to bring all of us to start having these conversations even before the conference. So I want to thank you, John, for being determined and saying that this will happen. So with that, I want to go ahead and just pass on the baton, if I may say, to you. And if you could just give us the vote of thanks, and then we can close this symposium. Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for creating time to participate in this session. We hope you all have some takeaway from this event. In fact, it did remind me of something Barack Obama used to say, that if only Africa could trade with itself, you do not need to be worried. And so I think this trade agreement is a great dispensation. Now, what next? As we wait for the environment to improve for us to organize the conference, whether we have it physically in Amsterdam or virtually, we have a few services that we'll be offering. We will continue with our webinars to continue the conversation. We hope the next event will happen in April. We do it every 2 months. But meanwhile, because of the increasing needs for investment facilitation, we already have on board a number of investors, and we already have a number of businesses. So we will be connecting African businesses with international investors. We will also be facilitating trade missions to and out of Africa. We will also be connecting African producers with African markets, and including with European buyers, and guiding businesses on importing and exporting services. We realize one of the biggest challenges is actually lack of information and networks. So we are ready to offer those opportunities, and we're getting queries that are coming in every day as a result of this. We will also be launching a monthly class on investing in Africa and doing business in Africa. In fact, I am very, very happy to hear about the story of Rwanda. Is a key example of the East in doing business, and I think that's very, very important. As part of supporting businesses, we have put together a directory with 3,000 investors, and the directory is available. If you're interested, please talk to us. If you have any queries about any of those issues, please send us an email at info@investinginafrica.eu. The next webinar will take place in April. We'll bring you at least, because the issue of money comes up every other time. All these businesses I'm seeing in the question area saying I'm doing coffee and I need value addition are talking about money. So we'll bring together at least 10 investors the next webinar. Please don't miss, and we'll invite you because we have your contacts. I want to especially thank our guest speakers, and I have to mention by their names: Dorothy, Margaret, Joy, Njoroge, Rose, Philip, Benjamin, and your startup fund. You guys are awesome, and thank you for supporting this event, and let's continue with the conversations. Special thanks to our moderator, Anne Gaida, as always, and Rigo Africa Group. Asante Sana, thank you very much. Finally, I want to thank, and I forgot the last time, our technical crew in Kenya, Nick Kibunei, Irene Otieno, and Walter Ozembo. Thank you very much for keeping us live. Let's continue the trade and investing in Africa discussions. God bless you, and God bless Africa. Asanteni, thank you very much. Thank you, well.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.